Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are premiering, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, A Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, Effie Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Jason Hornsby, JMels24, Unimento, Iron26, Endless, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. And with that, I'll hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I guess he was part of that crew. Truthers, the True Earthers. I sent them a few comments. Please come after us.
Sorry, Neil, I missed a whole big chunk of that. Can you just repeat that?
One at a time.
Who's the flat earther that? Sorry, who's the flat earther that flipped and then became a Grover?
Let me see what his name is. Hold on.
What's up, Steve?
Hey, morning, Vex. I'm making noise.
I don't know if his name is the Sign Maker. Anyway, the video is called The Fatal Blow to Flat Earthers. The Sign Maker. No, The Fatal Blow to Flat Earth Explained, I guess. Oh, he's going to give us some explanations. Immediately going to Flat Earth measurements, not even realizing it. He's such a freaking retard.
And the video got you mad, like physically angry?
Yeah, it's like within like freaking 20 seconds. I'm like, this guy's a freaking moron. God put us on a sphere. Oh, did he? Tell me where it says
the only way you have your flat Earth is if you deny the entire southern hemisphere, every single
Hemisphere not only is a begging the question fallacy, it's utilization of elevation angles in both north and south for latitude. The hemispherical view comes from measurements of a flat plane orientated around you with a ball with you in the center. That's the hemispherical view this guy's appealing to.
distance between every little degree of longitude all the way through populated countries.
Okay, so you're using a flat grid. What are you talking about?
Yep.
Go and look at what latitude and longitude is.
You can't be hiding it in the magnetic declination.
Hiding what? The flat grids that you use with latitude and longitude? Well, who's hiding anything? It's not hidden. It's used on flat maps with flat scales and flat distances. What's he babbling about?
Or maybe the ocean. There's a continent down there.
The ocean? What, like we use to measure heights off with the sea level averaged across the entirety of the known world? That sea level, that ocean. What's he babbling about? What's this guy talking about?
Lemuria. No.
Lemuria? What?
Oh. No, because you'd have to be lying about it consistently
Who's lying when we measure things off surface level and sea level, take altitude angles and use flat grids with latitude and longitude, and flat scales with linear distance measurements in miles and kilometres? What's being hidden precisely? Is Al-Biruni's use of flat Earth horizontal distances and trig being hidden? No, definitely not. Again, what are you babbling about? Nothing's being hidden. It's just you were told in your education you're on a ball. Now you assume that things are being hidden from you. No, definitely not.
Every single arc of longitude proves
Yeah, you're talking about measurements off a flat Earth to produce that grid.
that the solar noons are getting back closer together on a globe. That's how you know it's a globe. It's so freaking simple.
What, so simple that you can use all the flat Earth prerequisite elevation angles and measurements to the stars that create this grid to suggest that that means you're on a ball? That makes you an idiot. It doesn't mean it's so simple, it means you're stupid. Because you don't look into what these words mean. Look into what latitude and longitude are before you start saying that means it's a ball.
And then they start telling me again, well, water always is level. Why do you think that?
Water is at rest level. It's used as a tool for building things. It's called what's it called again? Oh yeah, water level. Useful for leveling things. So what, you're going to deny this axiomatic principle because you think that water curves?
There cannot be flat plane. People, I don't.
So that was a sentence fragment and a stutter. You didn't even complete the sentence. You didn't even complete the last word. A flat plur? What's that? What's a flat plur?
It doesn't matter. In some way, the Earth is so big that it's difficult for us to measure curvature. You know how?
What's so difficult that you're apologising before you've even got to the flat Earth measurements for how flat it will be surveyed, measured and dealt with in all instances when measuring Earth, that you're going to apologise for how little curve you can measure in your curvy world of curves? No, if you're going to suggest that there's a curve to Earth, you better bleed and measure it, as opposed to apologise for why you haven't got any. That's demented. Oh yeah, I've definitely got this horse and cart. It's just because I haven't got one that, because we don't need one and haven't got one and wouldn't be having one. You're like, hello? If you're going to suggest you've got something, you need to have it, as opposed to apologise for not having it and then say, well, it's so bleeding obvious. Because we don't measure any curve. How is that logical to you?
How much curvature, by the way? There's like an inch of curvature in 3,500 feet.
Okay, so we'd expect to see it measured and accounted for then. Over many miles, that would be compound into a squared function, if you knew the mathematics that is alleged to be utilising a flat plane to derive these 8 inches per mile squared in terms of the alleged Earth curvature that is utilising a flat plane arm measurement to derive it. You need surface level and your height off it. That's altitude. You need parallel eye level to infer that there's a geometric spheroid for a horizon below the surface level that you measured flat. That's where you're getting this calculation for, that you're butchering, to suggest that, it's only an inch. No, it's a squared function in your belief that derives that squared function from a flat plane in the first instance.
Over 3,500 feet. Look it up. 1 inch of curvature.
But look it up. I can give it you in the exact calculation. It's 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height off a flat surface level that you'll measure. Look it up. Who the hell is this fucking retard? Look it up. I doubt you know what this calculation is or how it requires a flat plane to measure it, and you're going to tell your audience to look it up. Are your audience more stupid than you, Ponytail?
3,500 feet. Do you think that we're going to maybe have a hard time perceiving that?
I couldn't give a shit. If you're going to claim it's there, you better fucking measure it. Meanwhile, we measure Earth flat. Okay, you mustachioed spastic?
Any way, shape, or form? Do you think structural engineers are going to have to account for an inch over 3,500 feet?
You think 3,500 feet is the limits of surveying? Look it up. People have surveyed and built on a lot bigger fucking surface than that, you stupid clown. And they don't account for curvature because they're doing it with trig. They're doing it with horizontal distances. That means they are, ipso facto, measuring it flat. Is it just me, or is this fucking retard apologising for how flat he's going to have to measure Earth? And saying, oh, we wouldn't need to measure the curve I believe in. Then your argument is, I believe there's curve because we don't measure any. Spastic! That's your argument? You believe there's curve because you don't fucking measure any? Wanker. Sorry, why are you sighing at me, you fucking retard? You haven't got the slightest idea how your non-existent curve calculations translate into flat Earth measurements. And you're going to tell me it's just an inch? And then sigh? Look up how you calculate sphericity based on flat Earth measurements.
I don't care about gravity. I don't care about the...
Gravity? What? A downward vector perpendicular to a plane of reference? That would be a flat Earth prerequisite, my friend. Perpendicular. Like, down. That's what gravity's alleged to be, the 110, year out of date version that you will be appealing to, because you can be damn fucking sure this guy's not been to university and studied physics. No, definitely not. There's no way this man's going to know about bent pseudo-Riemannian geometry, is he? Also a requirement of a flat plane. But he's going to tell me he doesn't care about gravity. And no, that's because you're a spastic and you don't know what it is.
Stars, we don't have to... All you need...
But you don't care about the stars? You've just appealed to latitude, you fucking retard! You don't need the stars. Why the fuck did you open with latitude then? Do you not know what it is, ponytail? Yeah, I can tell you're a fucking retard. You haven't got the slightest clue what you're babbling about because you're throwing out the very stars that you appealed to in your first breath. Now you're saying you don't need them. Where the fuck do you get latitude then from, you stupid Mongol?
To do about the sky is understand there's one light source. If...
Really? So when it's night time and we've got the moon out and you can make your way around because of that light, that's the single light source, is it? No, I'm going to go with spastic. I'm going to go with the man who's never looked out his fucking window at night time when the moon's out. Retard! No! You're a dumbass. Who is this fucking guy? Signal maker. Sign maker. Wanker. You're a dumbass.
If we're living on a sphere, if we were...
What, if you beg the question of living on a sphere? No, you've just gone through several flat Earth prerequisites and told me how you're not measuring any curve. Why would you assume such stupid nonsense when you've just justified not measuring it? Yeah, that's because you're going to need flat Earth elevation angle measurements to create your latitude system that you said you didn't need the stars for. You haven't got a clue what the stars are used for. You've never looked into this subject. You're just protesting because it makes you feel stupid when you find out that people disagree with your government-based education that you were given and you swallowed whole. Now it's being challenged. You feel the need, or you feel compelled to tell us we're wrong and then throw out fundamentals that you've used in your first breath. What an idiot.
We're living on a sphere. If God put us on a sphere.
No, he didn't put us on a sphere. Otherwise, if God had put us on a sphere, he'd fucking mention it in his Bible, wouldn't he? No, there's no mention of it in the Quran. No, there's no mention in the New or Old Testament. No, there's no mention of sphericity at all. Meanwhile, we measure Earth and it's flat. We fly over Earth and it's flat. We survey Earth and it's flat. We've mapped Earth. It's flat.
A really big one. We couldn't figure it out for a long time. But there was only one light source.
Really? Just the sun, you think, dickhead? Yeah, obviously this wanker's never been out at night time when the moon's out. Dipshit.
And it's moving around us in a cycle.
In a cycle?
We'd eventually figure out that we were on a sphere.
But what? Because the sun goes around you? In a cycle? A circle's flat. Why the hell would that imply sphericity? Oh, I'll tell you, because I know. You can derive a radial value by making elevation angle measurements. That star you said you didn't need, that would be Polaris, with its minimum being the outside edge of your presumed sphere that's converted from a flat radial value. So you will require Earth to be measured flat with that star you tossed out. That's also another light source, by the way. It produces light. What's that, just one? No, maybe if you're a spastic.
We wouldn't need NASA. We wouldn't
Sorry, we don't need NASA. What have they ever done? Velcro? Are you having me on?
need GPS.
Right, global positioning system uses a two-dimensional Cartesian grid and straight horizontal distance measurements as scaled on all maps. GPS is global in name only. Now, if this fucking retard had actually looked into what GPS was, he'd understand implicitly that it uses a Cartesian system that's flat. Now, he doesn't, he's a fucking retard. So he's spewing his nonsense shite at his audience without having done a single shred of research like the guys we covered yesterday.
We simply need to know the distances between places and
What, like on maps? Flat linear miles, for instance? Go and look at a map. How many fucking maps have you seen with a curved scale for miles on it? You fucking retard who has obviously never used a map.
where they fall on...
What fall? Perpendicular to a plane of reference in a downward vector that you'll need a flat earth to describe? You are using constant flat earth prerequisites to suggest your dumbass faith that you were given by your school system. What a cuck.
The latitude
What? Latitude as in the measurement of the elevation angle of a flat plane to Polaris, you fucking bonehead?
of those solar noons. Eventually, you'd realize, oh yeah, look at this.
Right, eventually I'd realise that we're measuring the system flat, as opposed to fantasise about how you just know, having been told by your school system. Eventually I'd just realise what a fucking retard you are.
All of a sudden, in the southern hemisphere,
Hemispheres are derived from flat plane measurements. Just covered this. In your mind, a hemisphere will give you elevation angles. In your mind, it's not working from hell with a protractor wrapped around you for the celestial sphere that derives this notion. No, you haven't got a clue how any of it's measured, so in your mind, just saying hemisphere means the world's a ball.
the solar noons are converging again.
Solar noon, what, perpendicular to a plane? Sun at your zenith?
That can only happen on a three-dimensional shape.
What? You're measuring elevation angles to the sun for solar noon? People navigate using the sun and elevation angle measurements that stop them dying at sea. You think you just got to look up and decide that that makes the world three-dimensional, do you, spastic?
Not a topographical plane.
Well, really? Well, why is every single map flat, every scale map, every linear distance measurement flat? Why is perpendicular to a plane of reference used in a downward orientation for your notions that you don't understand of gravity? Why is all these things reliant on a flat plane? Why is latitude measured flat then? Oh, we don't need the stars that I'm going to rely on for this latitude system I'm appealing to. Latitude's flat, you fucking retard.
Again, you'd have to start going... if they start converging even in one little...
So what starts converging? The latitude system? Do you mean longitude? Is that what you're now talking about? Because you just said latitude. This spastic doesn't have a fucking clue what he's on about, does he? He's half-stepping his way around this subject like he's a fucking intellectual. Mate, you're a spastic. My name's Nathan Oakley, sign maker. You are a spastic.
little degree.
Degree? What's a degree? Well, like two straight lines meeting at a vertex measured off surface level to Polaris to give you latitude? That sort of degree. You're going to need a flat earth for it, ponytail.
Impossible.
Right, not impossible, measured flat, spastic. Go and look up what fucking latitude is. Why are you telling me that a degree measurement, which absolutely fundamentally requires Earth be measured flat, is impossible? No, it's a flat Earth measurement you're appealing to for your dumbass ball faith.
You'd be going over the same land.
What?
Because that would indicate that sun is making...
Stuttery retard. Step off this fucking subject. You're a retard. You don't deserve to have an opinion in this matter. You haven't researched this in the slightest, and now you're half-stepping and stuttering your way around simple English.
a smaller circle.
Circles are flat. Fucking retard.
All of a sudden. It's so freaking simple.
What, the flat Earth elevation angle measurement to Polaris is so freaking simple? Yeah, it means Earth's measured flat, spastic.
That it hurts me? It irks me?
No, those are the only true words you've said so far. This makes you feel pain because it challenges what you held to be true up until this point. So now you've got to spew shite that absolutely fundamentally requires Earth be measured flat in a suggestive manner like it's proving your ball faith. Oh my God, do some fucking research, you lazy cunt.
Nathan,
this is
What?
he's an ex-flat earther.
An ex-flat earther? Oh, so he never knew it was flat. So he didn't do any research as a flatty, and now he's not done any research as a ball. No, what he's figured out is that algorithmically he could potentially be favoured if he comes out as an ex-flatty and starts talking about how ball-shaped the world is. So you are a fucking parasite. You money-grabbing scumbag.
what we consider truth.
No, this isn't about truth. It's about measurements, you fucking spastic.
This is the big bad truth that we're putting out.
No, just talking about how latitude gets measured. Not the big bad truth. How the fucking world gets measured.
Why does Flat Earth Dave have all of his comments on all of his videos
Dave's a retard also.
turned off?
I can understand and appreciate why Dave would turn his comments off, because YouTube fuck us around with comments.
Why does everybody... Why does Jordan...
Why do you have to stutter? Why have you got a speech impediment when it comes to talking about this stuff? Why in an edited video have you not edited out your own fucking useless use of English?
Dr. Jordan Grant, one of the virology guys, right?
So what the fuck does that have to do with how flat Earth gets measured? Virology?
Then, you know,
Then you know, I know you stutter. That's what I know.
viruses don't exist, guys.
Sorry, nobody said that here. Did Dave say that? Yeah, what a shock. So Dave's out there saying viruses don't exist, probably because he's there to make us all look fucking stupid. Yeah, but that's not me. I'm the one calling you a spastic because you've used several flat Earth prerequisites to suggest you're on a ball.
Why can't he respond to this thing that I'm bringing up?
Because of fuck. I'm responding to you and I'm calling you a spastic.
Huh?
Huh?
People are asking me to bring measurements. Can
People are asking you to not stutter. That's me.
you prove? You're telling me that we're supposed to believe the entire southern hemisphere, that entire map with all the...
Map? What map of the southern hemisphere? What are you talking about? Map? No, if you're going to describe those systems, you'll be inside hell measuring Earth like it's a giant glorified protractor. That's how it works. If you'd have looked into it, you'd know.
converging lines of longitude that correspond to solar noon. Every single arc is wrong across the entire... No, you never say that, flat earthers, do you? Because if you had said that at the beginning of this, I'd
No, we say it's measured flat.
never been a flat earther. You talk about Antarctica flight paths.
Do I? Talk about Antarctica being measured flat. By every single participating member of the crew went down there. I'll keep getting that wrong. There's a fucking retard called Dave the Spastic, aka Dave McKeegan, Fugly Dave, Tripod Dave, who was outsmarted by his own tripod that he levelled to the flat plane he needed for an elevation angle measurement to the sun for a 24-hour period. Now, because he's a spastic, I'm assured he wasn't dropped on his head, just fucking retarded. He couldn't quite manage it for the full 24 hours because he was outsmarted by a tripod. But he did manage it in a limited capacity. That is to say, he managed to level his tool to the plane of reference that he needed for the elevation, that means off surface, angle to the sun, measurements that they all made there. But what's that? Dave talks about ice walls. Dave's probably a shill here to make us all look stupid.
You talk about
I talk about stuttery wankers who can't get a full sentence out.
Captain Cook.
Talk about Captain Kirk. Mate, learn how to speak fucking English before you make the video. And if you can't fucking manage it, edit the video so you sound like less of a spastic. Okay? Meanwhile, I don't give a flying fuck what Dave's got to say. The man's a retard also. Just like you.
Cook's logs. Ridiculous.
You talking about Captain Kirk's logs? Is that what he said?
Ridiculous things.
Captain Cook.
Why don't
No, Cook, I misheard him.
you talk about the fact that we have to deny the entire map?
No. Deny what map? Maps are flat. The scales are flat. Distances are flat. They're measured with surveys that utilise rise over run measurements. Surveying is flat. All scales. But yet you're telling me I've got to deny a map? No, I haven't. I didn't make any of the maps. I'm not claiming any of the maps. But the maps absolutely fundamentally require flat Earth measurements.
How are you?
I'm all right, Neil. How are you?
Good morning.
How are you?
Hi, Nathan.
Yes.
I have to share a special moment.
What's that?
This is the longest that my wife has sat with me listening to you forever. You have used the R and S word a lot, which she doesn't like, but you made her laugh. So I just wanted to promote a very special moment.
Oh, fair enough. I'll try and cut down on my disdain. I told myself before I started today's show, I'm going to start today's show with a happy temperament and see if I can maintain it as long as possible. It took about 45 seconds of playing the video that was shared with me before I felt utter disdain for the world.
There is one question that she wants to ask you, though.
Fine. Did you want to relay that, or is she going to ask me personally?
No, I'll relay it. She just doesn't understand why you aren't besties with Flat Earth Dave and why you aren't singing Kumbaya.
Why am I not?
She wants to know the story.
Because I was sold under the bus by him. So during I think it was not Ballbusters, Globebusters. Dave was on with Jaron and the lads, and their guest brings me up. Now, bearing in mind that they'd spent, 10 or 15 minutes discussing at nausea people like McToon, without any issue whatsoever, the moment my name came up, Dave shut the conversation down quicker than you could possibly believe and said these words: "We don't watch Nathan Oakley." Now, at this particular point, I'd been feeding Dave videos that I'd made specifically for his app that he was publishing for free. I was making fuck all out of it, excuse my French. But basically, I was pumping material into his app for him to profit from. And then he turned around to a guest who he shut down because he wanted to talk about me and said that they don't watch me. In other words, he sold me under the bus. Absolutely infuriating. I approached him about it, didn't give a shit. That's one particular issue. A further issue was me approaching Jaron to explain what science is and being shut down and called a scammer. And Dave's reaction, when I did the exact same thing with him, was to end the conversation quickly. In other words, tell me I'm wrong and end the discussion about science and the scientific method. Did not want to hear it. Because his boys were using science to promote their ether scam. So therefore he didn't want to know, didn't want to learn, wasn't interested. So Dave is more than happy to sell his so-called friends under the bus in favour of what turns out to be Jaron the shill. That's who he was defending when he didn't want to learn about science and told an audience that he didn't watch. There you go. There's my answer.
And what about the Bitcoin you were protecting?
Oh, those are just things that I was doing for Dave that made it more egregious when he said we don't watch Nathan Oakley. Like, at the time, he's got me defending his honour and Bitcoin with participating members suggesting that they can prove a sphere for 2 Bitcoin, and then he sends them to me to argue with them. Again, what, you're not watching me defend your 2 Bitcoin, the audience member that you've sent to me? Just a scumbag.
Okay, are you happy with that story, dear? Right, she's very happy. Thank you, Nathan.
Just zero loyalty, just a scumbag. I mean, I'm pretty fickle. So if Dave came and said sorry and was like, I was wrong about Jaron, I was misled. Actually, you were 100% right. They needed to scam people with science. Can you teach me what it is? I'd be like, of course. I'd dedicate time to the guy in a heartbeat because I'm pretty fickle. But for now, my disdain is what I feel, so that's what I'm going to express. I swing 2 ways with Dave. I don't know if he's a shill. I don't know if he's out there because he's lazy with a script that he can't be bothered to update. And that's why he is quite content to make us all look like retards, talking about 9/11 truth and Mandela effect and no forest on flat earth. Complete garbage. Just total garbage. And it makes us look like idiots. And it infuriates me when we've got the cutting edge best of the best arguments that can end the discussion in moments when we talk about how Earth is measured. There's no ambiguity. There's no, as the guy we were covering in the pre-show said, there's no alteration needed to anybody's life when you appreciate how they've got away with it. They've got away with it by telling you how Earth's measured flat and then following that up by saying that means we're on a ball. But nothing changes. Asserting your belief after talking about how Earth gets measured flat is exactly that. That's why currently our opponents like Simon Dan or Dave McKeegan say things like, well, the surveyors use blueprints and they don't have any problem with the flat Earth surface level that they use when they level their tools to the horizontal plane of reference that they build on. Yeah, they don't have any issue with it because they're measuring Earth flat. Well, I mean, it's only 50 kilometres of flat Earth. We don't have much curve in 50 kilometres, says Simon Dan when he apologises for the lack of curve that isn't being measured when we measure Earth flat in all instances. So again, you've got people who would ask, well, what difference does it make to my life? None, when you understand that all you're doing is superimposing your belief onto how Earth gets measured flat. Then you just realise that that's what you're doing, superimposing belief on top of flat Earth measurements. And you sound rather stupid. Dan sounds incredibly stupid when he goes out and makes thousands of flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements. That's elevation, meaning it's off the surface, angle, meaning two straight lines, fundamentally requiring Earth be measured flat. When he does that and says, here's 1,000 flat Earth measurements, because we're on a really big ball, he sounds stupid. Because it is stupid. But I'm not punting something that's outrageous. I'm not saying the sky is falling. I'm not saying that we're going to be invaded by aliens. But that's what your government's telling you. They're telling you they're here with 144p black and white out of focus footage where you believe that you're going to get invaded by aliens. Yeah. They're telling you the sky's falling. I'm telling you surveys just survey. And then telling you how the surveys work. Am I altering how surveys work when they use horizontal distance measurement and trig? No. Am I coming up with something outrageously complicated? No, not really. I mean, some people might find surveying complicated in terms of trig. Some people might find trig complicated. But in terms of what it requires to measure Earth, it must be flat. And it isn't going to change anything in terms of how Earth gets dealt with when I highlight that fact. So, someone like Dave talking about 9/11 truth, Mandela effect, and no forests on flat Earth or mud floods pisses me off royally. Because that is egregious, it is outrageous, and it does require you to believe their shite that they spew instead of just talking about how Earth got measured. Will always be measured and is currently being measured by people like Simon Dan. Thousands of times flat. Anyway, we're halfway through a video, so I might as well finish it off. So this dude, I will share his link. He is a money-grabbing scumbag who has figured out that algorithmically he can be favoured if he suggests that he's an ex-flat earther and stutteringly points out how he believes he's on a ball. So let the signal maker, or sign maker, I keep getting his name wrong, the sign maker know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, you stuttering wanker.
Arc of longitude. You think it
Keeps appealing to flat Earth measurements. Moment we unpause every single time it's a flat Earth prerequisite he's using.
anyone's going to get on board with flat Earth when they realize that?
Realise what? That you're using a Cartesian grid with latitude and longitude? That it's flat and two-dimensional? What, you think people won't get on board when they realise that their two-dimensional system laid out in grid form on maps with flat mile scales and kilometre scales, they won't get on board with the flat miles and kilometres that we're measuring. They have to, or they can't travel using a map. So it's not about getting on board, you crazy hippied ponytail wearing wanker. It's about how Earth gets measured. With linear distance measurement, linear scales, flat maps, flat Cartesian grids. But your appeal is how people will get on board with that. No, they don't need to get on board with anything, and I don't care if they get on board with it. Earth will still be measured flat, regardless of how many people, quote-unquote, get on board with the facts of how Earth gets measured. They'll still be measuring it flat regardless of whether they don't believe their own bloody eyes.
It can't be hiding in the oceans.
Nothing's hiding. We measure Earth flat.
When you get to Sydney, Australia, it's over 2 times different.
What's over 2 times different? The latitude grid.
On the flat Earth.
No. All maps are flat. All distance measurements are scaled with flat scales. Have you never used a map?
You think they're just hiding that?
Nobody said anybody's hiding anything. Now, there might be out there certain flat earthers who need you to think that this is a belief. and constantly go on about how Earth's not a sphere, rather than how the sphere that people believe in relies on Earth being measured flat to create it. Now, those people are people like Dave. Now, that's Big Ball Dave in this instance, as opposed to Dave can't use a tripod, Fugly Dave. But Big Ball Dave will be out there saying, Earth's not a ball, as his rhetoric. Well, not being a ball is a belief that most people hold that is based on flat Earth measurements. That's not rhetoric. That's facts of how Earth gets measured. No belief is required, and your approval isn't needed.
Willy-nilly by putting some extra curves in the GPS?
Sorry, no, there aren't any curves in GPS. It's a flat Cartesian grid.
Do you realize these maps were before GPS?
What, the flat maps with flat scales and flat linear distance measurements? What are you babbling about?
Before NASA, they were used.
Right, what did NASA have to do with mapping? Nothing. Other than they measure their heights off sea level too, that'd be sea level, used when measuring heights perpendicular to a plane of reference. It's the only way height gets measured. In all instances and without exception. To describe height, you require Earth be flat.
Figuring this stuff out?
Right, no, you don't need to figure it out, Dumbo. And you haven't. In fact, you've whistled straight past every flat Earth prerequisite you've used in your dumbass globe faith.
You think lines of longitude are just popped into our lives?
No, I think they're flat.
From NASA?
In fact, I don't think they're flat. I know they're flat.
People, this is retarded.
No, you're retarded. You don't consider the fact you're using flat Earth prerequisites to make an argument for a ball. That is retarded.
And I'm angry because
Why? Why are you angry? What have you got to be angry about? I can pretty much guarantee that you'll do better in this arena with fraction of the subs than I've got.
talking to truthers and they're mocking me.
Well, yeah, you deserve being mocked. I'll mock you because you keep using flat Earth measurements to suggest you're on a ball. Yeah? So that's worthy of being mocked because it's stupid. You don't have to like how stupid you are.
No, I was just as fooled as all of you are, and I'm embarrassed.
Really? What am I fooled by? Flat Earth elevation angle measurements? Am I fooled by that? I'm going to go with no, nobody's fooling me. I'm pointing out how you boys on the ball go and measure Earth flat. Hundreds, if not thousands of times with elevation angles. Just go through it again. Elevation. That's off the surface. That's what elevation means, if you're referring to Earth. Angle. That's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. You want an example? The entire crew of the Antarctic expedition that went down there labelled TFE measured Earth flat for a full 24 hours. I keep forgetting to mention that fuck Ugly Dave didn't quite manage it. That he was outsmarted by his own tripod. The ugly goit. Couldn't quite cope with a simple piece of equipment when measuring Earth flat. He did manage it in a limited capacity. Now, I seem to get loads of commenters that want to focus on how ugly Dave is. Now, you watching this, stop focusing on how ugly Dave is. Yeah? Dave measured Earth flat with elevation angles. Now, no matter how much you want to make it about how ugly Dave is, it won't change how he measured Earth flat. With his elevation angle measurements, his flat Earth prerequisite surface level for elevation angle measurements in the limited capacity that dumbass could use a tripod with. Now, beyond the limitation of that man, I'm assured wasn't dropped on his frickin' head. He's just dumb as all shit. He did, in a very limited dumbass capacity, with his ugly ass face, manage to measure Earth flat with elevation angles. Now, feel free to pick that low-hanging fruit of how ugly Dave is. But it won't change how flat he measured Earth, which is our primary focus here. But for this guy with his ponytail and his tash, Dave and the crew of TFE all required surface level for their angle measurements when they measure Earth flat in Antarctica. All surveys at all scales require horizontal distance measurements for rise over run or trig. Now, this isn't somehow only at a small scale because we haven't got much curve to worry about when it's a small scale. It's all scales, all surveys, all maps, all charts, all flights, Every trip you ever take will use linear, flat scales on maps for distance. Every survey will use horizontal distance measurement for rise over run. Elevation will always be perpendicular to a plane of reference. Now, do you see me struggling with these facts? Am I stuttering over these, Ponytail? No. You, a stuttering dumbass retard, can't even cope with the English language, let alone with actual flat earth measurements that you need for your ball faith.
And you better, like, if...
It's another stuttery wanker with a sentence fragment. You know you've edited this video, right? You could have edited out how big a spaz you sound. Right? Me, I'm doing this live.
If you want to embarrass yourselves, that's fine, but I'm gonna...
What am I going to embarrass myself with? Is it embarrassing to describe how fugly Dave McKeegan measured Earth flat with elevation angles that are off a prerequisite flat surface for it to be called an angle with a little degree symbol after a number? No, that's not embarrassing for me. It is embarrassing for fugly Dave McKeegan, who, in a limited capacity before his tripod got the better of him, measured Earth flat. It's embarrassing for me to point out that Simon Dan, another retard, managed to measure Earth flat with thousands of elevation angles. Now, that's definitely not embarrassing for me. It's just me leaning into how you require Earth to be measured flat for you to believe you're on a ball, when you measure Earth thousands of times with angles. Now, we don't need Dave and we don't need Dan. Earth's been surveyed. Go and look at the scale on a map. Does it look curved to you? No, bonehead. None of this is embarrassing. I'm detailing facts of how Earth gets measured. Nothing about this is embarrassing. Nothing about it will change if you understand at a fundamental level how Earth gets dealt with. You not understanding it is also not embarrassing for me. Just means I've got justification to call you an idiot.
I'm going to be hammering you with...
Oh, really? You're going to be hammering me, are you, Ponytail? I'm thinking not. What are you going to come back at me with? No, actually, surveys don't use rise over run. Actually, perpendicular to a plane isn't how we describe height. Actually, surface level, aka sea level, isn't used in flight level when we fly over the plane of Earth. Yeah, it is. You're going to hammer me with these rebuttals that you're never going to have when you detail how Earth isn't measured flat, because you don't measure it like in the pre-show that we covered. You explained how little curve there was to measure. What are you going to hammer me with? An apology for how little curve you're not measuring? My God.
With all of you, Alex, Zach, all of you people out there pushing
You people? As a black man, I find that highly offensive.
the flat Earth. Forget blindfold vision. This is way bigger of a problem than that.
What, blindfolded to the flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements to Polaris you appealed to, just shortly before saying you didn't need the stars? Before you tell us that you don't know and understand how gravity works, in spite of the 110-year out-of-date version being a downward vector perpendicular to a plane? Yeah, this is stuff you don't understand. So you're not going to be hammering me. My name's Nathan Oakley. I expect a response. I'd like you to address every single point I've gone through and show me how your claim to be lack of curve measurements in some way overcomes any measurement of Earth that I've detailed on just this live stream. You're going to be hammering me with anything, clown? Absolutely not. I'm hammering you. Not with stuff that's outrageous like alien invasions, or sky vacuums, or men in little suits floating around a ball Earth that's been derived from flat Earth measurements to create heliocentric notions like orbit. All of these things rely on Earth being measured flat for your crazy, idiotic notion that you're on a ball. So you're not going to be hammering me with anything.
That. And this is embarrassing.
I'm gonna stutter like a complete retard whilst telling an audience that you're going to be embarrassing flat earthers. No, what you will do is stammer and stutter around these flat earth prerequisites I'm putting to you live. No editing needed. Me pointing out Earth's measured flat in every single instance. Not only with examples that I've got, but with your own words. Your use of flat Earth grids and Cartesian systems, your use of flat Earth distances and star measurements with elevation angles, all of which require Earth be measured as a planar surface, without exception. What you've got is a stutter as a comeback.
Embarrassing. You either act like a truther and you come out and you start cleaning this up. I don't even like this staying neutral thing.
Sorry. Are you just talking to Dave? Is this what this is? You talking to Big Ball Dave? Maybe address the fact that Big Ball Dave thinks we're on a big ball. In an interview, he specifically said that. Well, it could be a big ball, end quote, Dave Weiss. So why are you appealing to Dave the shill, who says Earth could be a big ball? Yeah, wait till you get a load of me, retard. Earth's measured flat. You need it to be that way for your Cartesian grid, your GPS, your latitude measurement, all of which requires surface level and its measured flatness.
Like, this is making us look bad.
No, it makes you look like a spaz.
Flat Earth is making us look real bad.
Do you think it needed repeating? No, this makes you look like a ponytailed, mustachioed wanker who hasn't got the slightest fucking idea what he's talking about because you haven't actually looked into how Earth gets measured when you described latitudes and GPS. This idiot had no idea what GPS was or the flat Cartesian grid system that it used, or he wouldn't have appealed to it. In this dickhead's mind, just because it's got the word global in the abbreviation, it means it's a global system. No, how it actually functions is flat. Maybe if you'd looked into it, it would be less, what's the word, embarrassing for you.
Bad. So I'm not even cool with the neutrality thing. Like,
I'm not neutral. I'm absolutely ripping a ponytailed idiot a new asshole with his own fucking words. Yeah? Not neutral. Yeah? Not biased. Just relying on facts and measurements. It's not showing any bias when I detail how Earth gets measured. That's a bias. Idiot.
It's as basic as what I just described.
You didn't describe anything. You used flat Earth prerequisites, Dumbo.
It's done.
Sorry, did you just do a slice your own neck symbol? Is that what you just did? Yeah, I think this man should get the guillotine, is what he's basically saying. Really? What, we should chop the heads off people who use flat Earth measurements and suggest they're on a ball with them? Is that what we should do? Wanker! Should we chop your head off because you're saying Earth's a ball after using latitude? Dumbass! You're using flat Earth measurements. Doesn't mean you need your fucking head chopped off. What a wanker!
Out of here.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, you stupid retard. That's it. Done.
Nathan,
My name.
I think he was angry about reading some of the comments. I think with that 24-hour sun thing in Antarctica, they took away his AE map. So he's very upset.
Oh, you mean this guy followed people like Jaren and didn't do any primary source research of their own, therefore they only had what Jaren told them to go on. So when Jaren said he was wrong, this guy became wrong. So he's a cuck! Cuck to Jaren and his shillery. Wow, no wonder you seem so dumb. Even when you were on the flat Earth, all you did was believe Jaren. Wow, way to put all your eggs in one basket, dumbass. Anyway, please let this guy know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that does not call him a retard or a spastic or swear at him, as it will undoubtedly immediately get removed by the YouTube algorithmic bots. But please do let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to let you know we covered your video in the live stream. Guy's name is The Sign Maker. Finally got his name right. Who shared that with me?
That was Liam, I think.
Good video. Demonstrates the ignorance of our alleged opponents. And is that what people on the flat Earth have become? Our opponents because Jaren left the community? Jaren was never a flat earther. When I was challenging him for his lack of acumen in terms of scientific method, he wasn't a flat earther then either. He was bullshitting everybody by pretending he believed in a map he'd already debunked. So the guy's a charlatan. Now, the fact that while I was pointing it out, he was saying I was a scammer massively affecting my revenue stream is neither here nor there. Now he's turned to the dark side of the ball based on flat Earth measurements. Maybe pay attention to what Jaren said when it came to Earth being like a Home Depot. What does that actually mean, Jaren? Oh, it means Earth's measured flat. That's what it actually means. Please let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment. That's it. That's it. Our show's done. Our work here is over.
I left a few comments telling them if you're going to go after somebody, come after us, please.
Yeah, if you're going to do the I'm going to chop your head off symbol at the end, you're going to get both barrels.
But Nathan, they're picking and choosing. You know the deal. Let's grab this low-hanging fruit.
What, Dave?
Go after Big Ball Dave.
Yeah, go after Dave. Do you hear this, Dave? This is directed at you. You've just been described as low-hanging fruit. In other words, you're an easy target because you're a dumbass talking crap with nonsense that people can easily unpick and debunk when you talk about how Earth's not a ball. Yeah, who gives a shit what it's not? You don't need to prove non-positive claims. I don't need to prove Earth's not a roast chicken, do I? But if I went around saying Earth's not a roast chicken, I'd seem kind of crazy. But Big Ball Dave going around saying it's not a ball, you don't need to prove non-positive claims. Yeah? This is Dave and his lack of understanding of what's called the burden of proof. It isn't on you to not prove something isn't in existence, Dave. Prove it's flat. Then you won't get our disdain when you are no longer the low-hanging fruit you currently represent in Flat Earth. And that's what you do represent, Big Ball Dave. The low-hanging fruit that this guy can pick apart easily. Very easily. With your crap app.
Well, to me, it's pretty telling because if he knows about Big Ball Dave and he knows about Jiren, you mean to tell me he's never heard of FED or QE? So this is pretty sad.
Who's M-Dub? Hey, M-Dub. Who's you?
Oh?
Oh, you in the hangout? M-Dub.
I'm the translator. What's up? My name's Mark.
Oh, hello. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We've met before, I guess, but yeah, I came into this in case we get a chance to talk about that, or if you prefer to do it during like a book meeting or something.
No, I'd much rather you were in this hangout. The hangout is what we use once the show's ended to do the book editing. So yeah, you joining is useful because it means you can see some of the process that we'll be going through in terms of the book editing, and it gets you to have a feel of it while we're doing it. So yeah, definitely good that you're here. Will we discuss it on the live show? No, because we're not editing the book currently. But yeah, I'm glad you've joined the hangout. That is.
I don't
Great.
think it's happening today, though.
No, we'll probably
okay.
resume next week. Adam's still got to wait for a chair.
That's correct.
I've suggested he gets a Herman Miller. Whether or not he saw my suggestion, I don't know.
I wanted to also just mention that I've been doing some legwork, and I think there's a French and a German translation possibility. People are interested, so if that's appealing, we can. I don't want to step on anyone's toes or anything, but folks are interested in helping for sure.
Absolutely. I'd want it translating into as many languages as possible. The amount of work that it's had put in, it's 2 years in the making. So, yeah, I mean, getting it out as wide as possible in as many easily digestible languages, native languages for people to read is a definitely good thing. So if you are that person and you want to translate my book into German or French or Swahili, whatever it is, I would be approving it immediately. So, yeah, definitely. Brilliant. I mean, I can't wait. And I'm also pleased because there's been, as with everybody who's trying to improve their efficiency, a certain amount of AI use up until now in not the most recent draft, but certainly in previous drafts. And had I been less, I've had less foresight to start doing other things to keep the money flowing in, which is microphone sales specifically. If I hadn't have done that, I would have put the pressure on to publish it. And of recent, there's been, I keep a vague eye on Scientology topics because it's directly connected to what we do, as much as people may not appreciate that. Scientology is just an extension of heliocentrism, which is useful occasionally. But in this instance, it's useful for a different reason. So is it David Miscavige, who's the current leader of Scientology, is being sued. And typically, they'll get away with using anti-slap laws to overcome any legal endeavours that people try and take out against them because they're in a religion. So they can get away with utilising that anti-slap law to shout down and basically get rid of all legal troubles. Well, in this instance, some ex-Scientologists that had sued the guy from that 70s show, whose name eludes me, were being harangued and harassed by Scientology. And they didn't get away with just throwing an anti-slap response at this. It failed. So they're into a proper court case now. And what do? They filed their response using AI. And it made up court cases. It just made up citations and made up people. Now, I've known this was the case from, fortunately for me, one of Craig's friends who I occasionally go out for a curry with. And he works for a big firm who I'm not going to allude to. I don't want him getting hassle. But he was explaining that they've got a bucket ton of money, this company, to throw at AI. And they have. And they're trying to figure out why a particular sales individual, I phrase this carefully, isn't doing his job properly. Why certain accounts are being mishandled by this particular sales individual out in the Far East. So they ask AI to figure out who this sales individual is. And it can't do it. Now, he explains to us, Mark, his name is, what happens when AI doesn't give you the answer you want. You can basically turn up the wick, right? You can say, work harder. That's the term that you use when you're programming the AI to do whatever it is you want to do. And instead of it throwing a couple of cores, all of these server centers power up and they all start whirring and then they come up with an answer. Amazing. They come up with this guy and give him a name and tell you who he is, and off they go and they start looking for this guy, right? Who's been mishandling these accounts. And the guy doesn't exist. AI's just invented him. Why not? Well, you wanted a guy, so here he is. I've invented him for you. So Scientology's comparative example is they've just made up and cited case law that doesn't exist as a response. Which I find absolutely hilarious. But as I say, there were various different times where we had used AI, and then when we go back to it and we're like, actually, is this even real? Let's do our, as I keep talking about, primary source research on what AI's provided. And it turns out that AI's just completely lied to you. It's just made shit up. Just because it just wants to make you happy. Very amusing. But yeah, as a result of me not being in total dire straits, just on the other side of the knife edge financially, it meant I didn't have to put pressure on, and therefore there was a chance that could have happened to me if I'd have released the book 12 months ago, with certain sections that people have gone, hang on a second, this isn't true. You're like, yeah, it is. I got it from AI. How could AI lie to me? Well, it can absolutely lie to you. In fact, it will lie to you just to make you happy. You wanted me to tell you about that person. Well, it doesn't matter that there isn't even a person that exists. I invented him. Now, are you happy now? You said you wanted a person to blame. Well, there you go. Here he is. I just invented him. So there we go.
Do you think if you asked for the radius of width, it would give it to you?
Don't know if can it give you a paradox? Would all the servers implode if they give you a paradox?
I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I can't remember whether or not when dealing with AI I've put anything paradoxical to it just to test it. Has anybody put any paradoxes to AI? Anybody remember playing Portal? So there's a point in Portal where the main computer has to try and overcome the secondary bad guy character. I think it's Portal 2. It's a video game. And the character's called Wheatley, and he's a complete Dumbo. And the problem that GLaDOS has is that normally she can destroy a machine by feeding it a paradox, and the computer just goes haywire and breaks. And she dishes out a paradox, and this particular antagonist is so stupid that it doesn't understand the paradox, so therefore it fails to destroy the computer because it's too dumb to get the paradox. Portal's such a great game. I say it's a great game. I've never actually played it. I've seen endless videos on Portal, endless speedruns of Portal. I could tell you about how the internal mechanics and programming of Portal works, but I've never actually played it. Shout out to Jardo. The answer is 42. But what is the question? Life, the universe, and everything? It is. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Well, as much as it was fun, infinite improbability and all. Go ahead, John.
That was the wrong question. And we need to make a computer to figure out the question.
Oh, we need to make a bigger computer to figure out the question if we've got the answer and the wrong question. Right, well, I'm all tuckered out now. Thank you for the super chat, Jardo. I should really put it on screen, shouldn't I? Right, I don't normally do a plug in the middle of a live stream, but I will, as we're about halfway through. If you would like to join this channel, there is a link below this video. Hopefully it works. Has anybody tested the link recently? Hopefully so, because a couple of people have been back to old videos and they leave a comment going, why doesn't your link work? They are actually, if their ball is a bit more harsh, they're like, why does the link never work? Like, the link does work, it's just you're looking at an older show with an old link. And I'm not going to go back through 1,000 shows and update the links when it changes. So yeah, you have to come to the modern show. So I would assume the current link below this video does actually function. If you did want to challenge anything we say, you feel free. Shout out to Pablo, who's just gifted 5 memberships. Really appreciate it. Right, what do you want to talk about? I've run out of things to talk about now.
We could finish Dave Fafana and Jeranism, if you can't see that.
I guess so. Just a bit further up in Master B, right?
Yeah, we've probably only got about 45 minutes left.
Or we could get to the bottom of the situation.
What situation would that be?
The 2-star rotations, because I believe Vax has some evidence.
Evidence of 2-star rotations?
Evidence of people claiming 2 poles.
No, that's different things.
24/7.
When you say 2-star rotations, I don't disagree with this concept of having a north and south with different stars in each area. What's wrong with that? Now, when people say there is a pole star in the south, I don't believe that there is. Now, I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but it really doesn't affect any of our arguments. So as much as Vaxi may have an issue with people saying that there is a pole star in the south, I mean, if somebody presented that to me, I might ask them to evidence it, but I really don't see the point. What difference does it make if there is or isn't? If there was a southern pole star, would it change any of our arguments?
Negative.
Who cares?
No, not at all. Yeah, exactly. It's not about the argument of 2 poles or 2 celestial poles or whatever. It's just the argument's all about if it was said or not said, and then if I just made the whole thing up. But I don't want to get into that anymore. It's an old hat. It's boring.
Sure. I mean, I don't know why it was discussed. I mean, it was annoying to Eli because he was hearing things alleged by yourself about people that he trusts not to engage in those sorts of discussions, and you're outright saying they did and then not providing any evidence to prove that. And that's, for Eli at least, a very annoying situation to be in. Now, me, I've got my own gripes with people like Politics Server as an entity reified by me in this instance, or anthropomorphized by me in this instance. But I'd rather keep them to myself, which is to say that if somebody says, go away, we don't want you here, then you go, okay, that's your bag, right? You don't want me there. Now, you guys can argue all day about how suspicious it is that QE and myself are banned for seemingly no reason. Now, I've been told the reason. The reason is because I used the N-word when somebody came into the stream, played it repeatedly in a video clip, and then I attempted to defuse it, and in so doing, used the word in my diffusion of the use of the word by someone else. That was called to have me banned according to politics. At which point you think, okay, I don't want to take part. If that's your utilisation of this rule, if somebody spams your live stream, which we were live at the time, by saying nigger, 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 nigger through a played clip in a video, and then I use the word to diffuse it and describe how someone else playing it is contextually racist, and in so doing use the word, and I get banned, you just think, okay, well then we're dealing with disingenuous people if you want to use that as a reason to ban me. But, you know, in which case you go, okay, well, I don't want to be around those people, so why would I moan about them? Just keep away from them. Other than when you guys moan about them, I really haven't brought up politics since I got banned. Because why would I?
Is the issue with the pole stars that they're a part of the same axis? Is that what people are wanting to know?
Don't know. I think it's just the fact that people have suggested that there is a southern pole star, Sigma Octantis.
I hear Jedi as clear as day saying it on one. I briefly brushed through the videos that Dax sent me, but I do hear him clear as day.
Essentially, what happened is somebody mentioned 2 celestial poles. I disagreed. We had one argument that got really, really heated and contentious. And then the very next day, we had a very mellow, respectful talk about it. Like nobody was swearing at anybody. And like I said, it's just the fact that like I was called a liar and that it never happened. Okay, and I didn't back up evidence to prove that it did. But then I realized, wait a second, I'm not making the positive, like Eli's the one making the positive claim that I am lying. So isn't it his job to prove that I lied?
No, it's your job.
That's the thing I was getting mad about.
No. If I say Neil claimed all women are scum, and then you say, well, you need to back that up, Nathan, with some form of evidence. You need to show where he said that. And I go, I can't. Well, without backing it with any evidence, it's a baseless assertion.
Yeah, I guess. No, that's true too.
The burden of proof is on you. If you want to claim somebody said something, now, that doesn't mean that it isn't true, but no one's going to accept it as true unless you can actually evidence it as true.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I was struggling with, like, I was kind of going back and forth in my head with that. Because I'm like, do I really have to, like, go dig through the videos and find the conversation from
Yes.
January 25th? And I did. I found it. Dude, I just scrolled through their live streams and stopped. Like, once I did a big swooping scroll and it went through, like, 50 videos and I stopped. And I'm like, oh, January 25th. And I clicked on it. And, dude, boom, it was right there. Like, as soon, I'm like, oh, my God, what are the odds? That was so lucky. I need to go buy some lottery tickets.
Just do a word search.
But I just managed to find it.
The easiest way to do it is to go into the transcript on the side of the video. So on where the live stream chat or comments would be, there's 3 little dots. You press the dots, and then you go to this drop-down menu that says Show Transcript. And then is it Control C or something like that? And you can do a search for a word. I've forgotten the shortcut command. Whatever the shortcut command is to search for a word. And you just search for whatever it is you're looking for in the transcript. And then it'll bring it up with the timestamp. So if it's Polaris, or if you just did a word search for Sigma, you'd probably find your way to it pretty quickly. That's how you find stuff in videos. If you want to scroll through them, that's going to take you hours.
Right. I just, like I said, I just flipped my finger and then clicked on a video that was around the time, and it just so happened to be there. I'm like, oh, I didn't see. I'm a boomer at heart. Like I didn't realize you could word search for things in transcripts. Hey, I'm the slow kid in the back.
Well, not a lot of people know that. I mean, that's just from experience, having to find things in a pinch. But typically, I don't even use that method because I tend to not rely on cited sources. I'd rather make my point with an argument as opposed to a citation. Now, as QE, I remember QE saying it, your citations don't make your argument. Your argument's your argument. You can make a support for your argument with a citation. But it's like, I remember asking him, I'm like, so you're saying you don't actually need citations at all? And he was like, no. I'm like, well, hey, that sounds good to me. Never looking anything up. I'm incredibly lazy. If I can just get my argument in a line, I don't need to cite anything. And the answer is, yeah, you don't need to cite anything. If you've got your argument all worked out, why would you need a citation? Do I need to cite anything when I describe how horizontal distance measurement is utilised with trig? Just go to any survey. That's how it's surveyed. But digging it out, it's like, oh, I can't be bothered.
Yeah. Because, like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I should probably go try to dig this up. But it seemed like such a daunting task because, like, when they do their recordings, they're like 5 hours to like 12-hour videos. I'm like, oh. So I gotta try to think of the date, go back to that time frame, and then go through like 12, 13, 14 videos of that time period. And I'm like, I'm lazy. I don't want to do that shit. But I did get a little lucky. But we don't have to. It's whatever. It's stupid. Because, like I said, the argument in and of itself has nothing to do with the surface being measured horizontal and being used as, this guy's a horizontal plane and the surface is a horizontal plane parallel to each other. It doesn't change anything.
Exactly. So therefore, in a way, I was a bit baffled as why it was being argued about. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you've got a real bee in your bonnet for people saying that there's a star that you can't see, then, fair enough, argue with it, but for me, it just seems a bit of a waste of time if it's not really proving a point either way. I mean, as John just pointed out a minute ago, it's like, well, what are you really talking about? We're talking about perpendicular to a plane of reference to being axes. Well, that sounds like a flat Earth prerequisite right there. Why argue about it? Okay, so you say there's a pole star. Okay, so we're perpendicular to a plane of reference then. Well, that's great. Earth's flat then.
I think the reason why it got so ugly is because it was right on the heels of them coming back from Antarctica or all that crap. And I think people were just extra defensive about certain things and stuff. So I don't know.
I mean, I can relate.
Because I was always in the... Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm just agreeing with you.
Well, I was always in the boat of who cares if they did or didn't. Like, let's just say they did go to Antarctica. And like you said, they measured elevation angles for they attempted to for 24 hours. Like, yeah, great. That's a flat Earth proof. Like, even if we just take for red, they did 100% what they claim they did, it doesn't change anything. Just FE infighting and people's personalities clashing, more or less.
Right. Should we do this video then?
Before we do, Refracted, are you there? I was going to say he summed it up best a few months ago when he said that their position is that if the elevation angle of the sun remains above the horizontal plane of reference needed to measure the angle for more than 24 hours, then the horizontal plane of reference is no longer a horizontal plane of reference. It's just so absurd.
Yeah. If we measure Earth flat with elevation angles, it means if we've got 24 hours of flat Earth elevation angles, then it's not a flat Earth elevation angle. Utterly absurd, but that is their position. In summary.
What's
Right, let's
sad
get
is
into this.
that we have to.
We just do a plug for this.
What's
Hold on.
sad?
Just 1 second. So this is Professor Dave Explains channel. So please let Professor, which is not Dave, know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that alludes to the fact that we have covered his video here if you are watching this live. So there is a link going by in the live stream chat to Professor Dave. Were he to make a video response, I would hope he would do the same for me.
His cash cow. So
his meager income. Yeah.
Yeah, it may not be much, but it's, going
It's
to
what
zero
he's
from
got.
whatever it was is not that's kind of what's happening to me. It's not the healthiest thing to do, but sometimes, if the alternative means you got to lie to people, you'll never catch me doing this.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I appreciate the perspective and the additional context.
Perspective? You can't have that on a flat earth. Maybe you should listen to some of your compadres like Conspiracy Cats. I'll give you a flat earth for that, end quote, Conspiracy Cats, when talking about perspective. Talking about angles.
So now let's do a little flat earth debunking. I think you want to talk about some flat earthers and things they've said. Whatever you've got, let's go for it.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff. And so let me see if we bring these up and share screen. All right, here's first one we're going to look at is Eric Dubay, as he is,
I don't want to look at him.
Flattered Papa. I don't want to hear him. I can't stand his voice, but here we go.
Okay. He's spoken with extreme confidence, as you will hear for yourself right now.
In order to fit the heliocentric globe model, this midnight sun phenomenon must also occur for observers south of the Antarctic Circle during winter solstice. Depending how far south the observer is, the sun should be seen for several days or weeks, never fully setting, just like it does in the north. In reality, however, there is never 24-hour sunlight anywhere in Antarctica at any time of year.
You heard it from the man himself. A 24-hour sun in Antarctica fits the heat. Here's another clip.
Okay. And being incorrect about that proves a ball, does it? I'm going to go with no. Measuring a flat Earth elevation angle measurement to the sun for a 24-hour period, as all of the TFE participants did. Oh, why do I keep getting that wrong? I'll just make a slight correction. Fugly Dave McKeegan was outsmarted by a tripod and didn't quite manage to measure Earth flat for the full 24 hours. Now, I am assured that he was not dropped on his head. He is just dumb as shit and was just outsmarted by a tripod because he's thick. Meanwhile, in a limited capacity, Fugly Dave McKeegan, along with everybody else in Antarctica, managed to measure the elevation angles to the sun for a full 24-hour period, making Earth, what, a ball? Because you measured it flat. They're measuring elevation, that's off the surface. Angles, that's two straight lines. So that's a flat Earth prerequisite measurement that they made. Now, the reason we've gone to Eric Dubay is because Eric Dubay has incorrectly asserted, allegedly, that there is not a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Now, I wouldn't trust any of the people who went down to Antarctica, down being perpendicular to a plane also, south being horizontal, as far as I could throw them. So I don't trust anything that they've provided. For a start, they went down with a CGI expert. Why? To measure Earth flat with elevation angles to the sun for a full 24-hour period. I don't believe anything that they've got to say. I just think they're all charlatans.
The midnight sun being seen only in the northern regions is evidence against the globular theory. If the world were a globe, the midnight sun would be seen in the southern regions.
I mean, how old is this video? I mean, maybe Eric Dubay used to go along the lines of constantly trying to show how Earth is not a ball. But if I was to speak to Eric, I'd say, if this was him saying it currently, why? You don't need to prove a negative. You don't need to prove it's not a ball. The positive assertion is on them to prove, as opposed to you to disprove. But, I mean, it's Eric Dubay. What are you going to say? Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's just an observation. Sorry, mate.
Well, one day.
Go on, Brad. Go on, mate. You're all right.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Eric Dubay made a video recently where he's just said basically 10 technologies, as he called them, that proved the Earth is flat. You know, like the sextant and, you know, the theodolite and all these kind of things.
Radar.
Yeah, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And, you know, it's like he's all right. You know, he said that some years ago. And to be honest with, like, this is very unfair because there was nobody producing videos of a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, right? There wasn't before December 2024. The only guy that was claiming to produce them had to admit to faking some of them, right? He probably say he had to fake all of them, right? Now we have the one from Antarctica by these people, but they've proven themselves to be so dishonest. And the whole thing to be such a sham. Like, I personally shown how much of a sham it is. It's like, you just can't trust them. They are too untrustworthy for me to actually put a bet down and say, yeah, I can pay $100 that there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
I wouldn't take that bet. Say, I would
couldn't
still
do that.
And neither could I. It's still ambiguous as far as I am concerned. Now, I wouldn't put my stamp either way, and it's fueled the ambiguity, their trip down there, but who cares? Again, in terms of whether or not there is a 24-hour sun, it will not alter how the measurements take place, will it?
No, see, this is the quandary they're in. They not only did they need to use a flat Earth for their trip there and their trip back, and for to measure everything they came to measure there, right? But they also needed to use time zones, UTC time, which is flat Earth. It's a proof, another absolute proof. So it's a total quandary. They're just trying to hijack whatever they may or may not have seen in the sky and claim it's a globe. You know, it's pathetic. You know, that's what they're doing.
December.
So, I mean, once you understand, sorry, mate. Once you understand the measurements of how Earth is measured, there's no going back. Once you know it's measured using sea level and elevation angles, there's no escape from that, is there? No matter what you're looking at in the sky, it's measured flat. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and deflect to guns and suggest that me and an 8-year-old comment where I say that you'd get stopped at gunpoint, which was then confirmed 6 months after they returned when someone was turned away at gunpoint by the Chilean government because they hadn't filled out all the forms. Nevertheless, I was pointing out how Earth got measured when I was told that there was no guns there, like I give a crap. Earth gets measured flat by people who are in Antarctica if they're going to measure it. And what do you know? They measured it flat. Exactly as we said they would.
There was actually...
It's quite sorry.
Go on, Sancho, go on.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say it's quite amusing as well. The guy who set all this up is done a runner.
He might be in jail.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I wasn't going to add it in, but it's true. He's gone missing. He's not. He said he's not going to be around anymore. He's gone. That's it. I don't know. And
how did he say it? Did he say, "I won't be around for 3 to 5 years"?
Yeah.
Depending on good behaviour.
Yeah, it's depending on parole. Yeah. Specific time, he just said he was going away, and that was it. He had a going away party.
I'll be gone for 3 to 5 years, pending good time. Is it good time they call it?
Pending good behaviour.
Well, they don't call it that. They call it, I think they call it good time. Is it good time they call it, Neil? You're an ex-convict.
Yeah, you get good time. That means you get out a little earlier. You got to be a model prisoner, though.
I just thought it meant if you're having a good time there, they'd let you out early. Oh, well, you're having a good time, so we'd better let you out.
Yeah, you're having it too easy in here. We better leave you out for some hardship. What I was going to say is there was people turned away at gunpoint before they went to Antarctica in 2024. There was one particular guy, he's a very wealthy flat earther, and he actually tried to sail to Antarctica. And he was, they turned him away twice, just past the 60th parallel south, and they took his boat off him, and they had machine guns, as far as I know.
Yeah, you know when I found out about that? About 8 years ago when I wrote that comment.
Yeah, so it's not as if nobody has ever tried to go there and were turned away at gunpoint. They were.
But who cares? I mean, literally, it's 8-year-old rhetoric that might have seemed important 8 years ago to me when detailing the facts of how people get turned away from Antarctica prior to this bunch of numpties filling out endless forms and doing GoFundMes to facilitate just travelling to a certain part of the world. Why would that cost so much money? Oh, because there's quite a lot of red tape that you've got to overcome to get down there, down being perpendicular to a plane of reference. Yeah. But what? There were no guns? Oh, really? All right. What, there was no armed guards at any of the airports you went to? Yeah, there was, lying bastards. It's almost like you want to deflect away from the flat earth measurements I was talking to the specific participant named Toon when he phoned me from Antarctica on my show that's claimed to be an echo chamber. Yet somebody from Antarctica can phone me and I can say to them, you're measuring a flat, Toon, and before I've got to the end of the sentence, they're telling me I'm a liar and that there's no guns. It's almost like a deflection away from the measurements, isn't it?
On a Sunday
the
as
point.
well, when you just
Sorry,
happen to
Dave.
be live.
I was saying, I think that was the point. If you go back 8 years or whatever it was, flat earthers were concentrating on, well, let's work out what the sun's doing over this flat plane, and what is it moving in circles and in and out, and is it speeding up and slowing down? We wasn't talking about measurements of the earth and how it's measured. That was the focus on other things, really. Where now that we've progressed and the main focus is it's geometry, and we're talking about the measurements of the surface of Earth, not the lights in the sky.
Like on screen. This is what they measured in Antarctica. It's called an elevation angle. It's two straight lines. If this isn't straight, see where it says A? If it isn't straight, then it's not an angle. If it's only with respect to the vertical, then it's not an elevation angle, because elevation is describing the surface. And if it's bent, it's not an angle. So to be clear, this is what they measured. It's called an elevation angle. It's what was measured in a limited capacity by Dave Fugly McKeegan, but everybody else there managed the full 24 hours of claim to be sun rotation about their position, meaning that they've just measured Earth flat for 24 hours. That's all it means, because they did. Unless, of course, they want to deny their own measurements, in which case, fine. So you didn't get any measurements. You can't put a little degree symbol after the elevation angle measurement that you measured. Okay, well, you feel free to deny your own flat Earth measurements that you're absolutely measuring, because you've got a degree symbol after a number. That's a flat Earth prerequisite. Here's another example. Just so we're all clear, these aren't my diagrams. They've come from bull-believing numpties in bull-believing books, where they describe how things like vernal equinox works inside a ball so that you can have a flat plane to get the angle from, on a plane so you can describe north, south, east and west in a planar fashion as north, south, east and west are described always and without exception. If you're going to describe direction, you're going to need a flat plane to describe it on. And that's exactly how it's dealt with. Now, this system can be converted into a glorified protractor, that's a ball wrapped around you, that you can call a globe at radius 3959. But that would be a derivation of a flat Earth minimum elevation angle to Polaris that we use in a system that also uses flat Earth elevation angles to the star Polaris that we call latitude. All Earth measurements, without exception, are flat. It's the only way it can function. That is how Earth is measured, and it's detailed in all ball-believing numpties' books, where their faith expands out the flat terrain into the extended celestial plane. Miles bigger than any ball could ever cope with, because your angles to the stars that are beyond the equatorial plane still can be measured with circles of equal altitude. And they are. That's how Earth's measured, and mapped, and charted, and sailed upon, and flown over. Flat. Without exception. So why is it a shock that people go to Antarctica and make measurements and they're flat Earth measurements? Because that's the only way Earth can be measured. There aren't any exceptions to it. What's that? Can you hear that? Where are the guns, Nathan? Yeah, that's what I'd say too if I was on the ball measuring Earth flat. Do you have a little bit more and then we'll round out?
If the Earth was a globe, then the midnight sun would be seen in the southern regions. And
That's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If P, then Q. Q, therefore P. Not Q, therefore not P. Have I got that wrong? It's a bit late in the day.
Of course it is. And so, this is the problem is all these guys, I can have respect for somebody if they're going to make a claim that's out of the ordinary, as long as they're willing to back away from that as soon as the evidence takes them to that direction.
So the same standard would apply to you then, Jaron, would it? So long as you're prepared to back away, in a horizontal vector, from this notion. Well, let's see if Jaron's capable of understanding that Earth is measured like a Home Depot with elevation angles in this instance. Are you prepared to walk away from your crazy notion of sphericity when you're measuring Earth flat in Antarctica, Jaron? Nah, you're a shill. You're here to lead numpties like we covered at the beginning of this live show away from their faith that they put in you for a flat Earth. Because that's all they had from you, a faith in a flat Earth. Over here on Flat Earth Debate, we talk about how Earth gets measured. In all instances, including but not limited to the TFE measurements you all made in Antarctica. Apart from fuck ugly Dave, couldn't quite manage a tripod. Yeah? Now, feel free, if you're an audience member, to focus on how ugly Dave is. Like how scrape your eyes out your own head ugly Dave is. When we detail how he measures Earth flat. Because that low-hanging fruit is what you all like to go for, right? You called Dave ugly. Why'd you make it into a personal attack when you're talking about how ugly Dave measured Earth flat? I'm not. I'm talking about how he measured Earth flat in a limited capacity until the tripod got the better of him and his fugly face when measuring Earth flat. Which you're going to pick? Don't call him ugly. Why not? He is. I mean, it's just an opinion. Like, I'd rather scrape my own eyes out of my head than look at Dave's fugly face whilst measuring Earth flat in a limited capacity with a tripod he couldn't quite wrap his head around. Now, I am assured that he was not dropped on his head. He's just dumb. But dumb Dave McKeegan, fortunately for him, had compadres there who did manage to measure the full 24 hours of flat Earth rotation elevation angles off a flat surface. For elevation, that's the surface. Angles, that's two straight lines. For the full 24 hours. It was only Dave, the idiot, who couldn't quite cope with his own tools when experiencing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to measure Earth flat for 24 hours. He didn't quite manage it because he's dumb and ugly. But you feel free to focus on those two last points and ignore how flat he measured Earth in the limited capacity he managed to get his tripod to work in.
So if he wants to make a crazy claim like that, that's fine. But this.
Sorry, is it crazy for me to say you measured Earth flat with elevation angles? You're going to tell me that's a crazy claim?
Second, that it's been now debunked and been shown.
So now we've shown that you measure Earth flat, you're going to toddle your way back onto a flat Earth, Jaron? Like flip-flop for a second time? Or would it be third?
Shown clearly without...
It'd be third time, wouldn't it? Flip-flop away from the globe to flat Earth, that's one. Flip-flop away from the flat Earth to the globe, that's two. And then flip-flop away from the globe because you've measured Earth flat in Antarctica, that would be three. How many more flip-flops do you need?
Any prejudice at all, then...
We're not talking about prejudice when you've got flat Earth measurements, Jaron.
And he needs to, be a man and say, I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right in that regard. Maybe you should be insisting that Eric Debay got it wrong based on you bunch of charlatans who none of which are trustworthy measuring Earth flat for 24 hours. Therefore, he should retract that he said that there wasn't a 24-hour sun that could be measured Earth flat with elevation angles in Antarctica. Will that change how flat Earth got measured by you? No, it really won't, will it? But I mean, what, you get the joy of Eric saying he was wrong about there being a 24-hour sun alleged to be measured with flat Earth angles in Antarctica by you bunch of clowns. I could get it wrong, though. I say you bunch of clowns measured Earth flat for 24 hours. Dave McKeegan couldn't quite manage it, could he? Yeah, too stupid to use a tripod. Only the limited capacity of Dave's brain enabled him to get a limited amount of flat Earth elevation angles with his fugly face. What's that? You want to focus on me being mean, calling him fugly? Why don't you focus on the flat Earth measurements he made? Is that just easier to focus on how ugly Dave is? Bless. Yeah, you feel free.
A flat earther. Whitsitt claims to still be a flat earther, but acknowledges that he saw the 24-hour sun and wasn't in a studio or whatever other dumb crap they want to come up with. So,
sorry. So, how do you know, Professor Dave, that they weren't in a studio? Have you been down and watched them and observed them? How do you know that they weren't? How do you know that Whitsitt isn't in on the whole charade? How do you know that? You don't. But you're going to say that it's nonsense. All right, okay. I mean, I don't know either way. But I'm more than happy to disclaim that. I don't know if they were in a massive tent of tellies or actually on Antarctica. But regardless of if they're in a tent measuring surface level elevation angles to a displayed picture of the sun or actually measuring the sun in Antarctica, they're still measuring it flat, aren't they? With elevation angles. It's the only way to measure.
And they weren't at the equatorial plane.
Say again?
They weren't at the equatorial plane anyway.
No. They're on the extended celestial plane.
Horizontal.
Yeah, horizontal. It can't be anything other than horizontal, otherwise you can't call the little degree symbol after the number a measurement, unless it's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. And if it's not off the surface, what's that? Tangent plane, tangent plane! What do you mean? Elevation angles out in space? Elevation off the point out in space that's only got a single point meeting a ball that you presupposed? Well, that's not an elevation angle. Elevation means off the surface. Angle means two straight lines. The little degree symbol that you all measured. Why do I keep getting this wrong? All except Spastic Dave. Not dropped on his head, just dumb as shit, incapable of using a frickin' tripod. All except Dave measured Earth flat for 24 hours. Let's just get that clear. I keep getting that wrong.
A pariah as well, or what are their?
What are you going to do when you're live? You're going to stutter your way around every sentence like the guy we covered this morning? What are you going to do?
What do they say about him?
Who cares? So, okay, Eric Debay, one man, got it wrong, allegedly, based on your use of flat Earth elevation angle measurements, potentially in a tent of tellies, or maybe on Antarctica, but you're still measuring Earth flat either way. So what, you want a concession from one man? How petty. I don't give two shits whether Jaron concedes his idiocy in this regard. I'll lean into the actual measurements he made. Do I care that Jaron doesn't concede how stupid he is? No. I don't care. I don't care. You don't need to give me any concessions, Jaron. I don't care that you don't understand how flat you measured Earth. What's that you do? Earth's like a Home Depot? Yeah, if you say so. But I'll just lean into the measurements they made. I don't need them to apologise for them or explain them. I just refer to them. And then I don't care what Jaron does afterwards. But you, a petty man, need Debate to apologise to you. Why? Does that change the flat Earth measurements? No. Just you being petty.
I think in the communities kind of got some issues. Obviously, they think he faked a vape, which means that the whole thing was fake or something.
No. Did anybody hear us mention anything about vapes in the last responses that we made? We said you all measured Earth flat with elevation angle. Damn. Stupid, idiotic, fugly Dave McKeegan didn't quite manage it, but other than fugly Dave, who couldn't quite manage his own tripod, you all measured Earth flat. Does that sound like me talking about Witsit vaping? No! The idiot flat earthers focused on Vapegate. We focused on how they measured Earth flat. Before they went, while they were there, hi, my name's Toon. Oh, you're measuring Earth flat. Where are the guns?
But no, his position is just basically, there's enough wrong with the heliocentric model that it could.
But who's he? Debay? Enough wrong with the heliocentric model? Oh, right. Well, I mean, feel free to attack Eric Debay for his inaccuracies about your alleged possible Tentatelli / Antarctic flat Earth measurements. Petty.
Still be flat, which it's.
No, not could be. Was required to be flat for you to call the little degree symbol after a number a measurement. Without it being flat, you haven't got any measurements. It's a prerequisite. It's an elevation angle measurement. You all made, except for Fugly Dave, couldn't quite cope with the tripod. Other than Ugly Dave, you all measured Earth flat.
It's not, there's no, that's another thing I think flat earthers don't realize is that
But this is going to be a stereotyping fallacy?
They think that there'll be another map coming down the road.
Sorry, all maps are flat. The scales for distances on maps are flat, as per the surveys of distances. There's no curved scales, ever, on the flat maps. So Jaron fundamentally doesn't understand how maps work. Or has never used a map, clearly never a Boy Scout. I mean, he didn't know how to use a compass, so what do I expect?
And there is no, the AE map is the only flat.
Sorry, it's not a flat Earth map, Jaron. The azimuthal, this is Jaron being a scumbag. What's the word? A liar. Flat Earth map, the azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection came from wrapping a cylinder around a globe. The globe came from minimum elevation angle measurements to Polaris. So the order of events here is measure Earth flat to devise a system of latitude. project the flat radial value measured with the minimum angle to Polaris onto a ball, wrap a cylinder around the ball, and then project that flat, and then project that conically into a North Pole-centric azimuthal equidistant globe projection. But what's Jaren saying? It's the only flat map. Lying scum. Gotta lie to Glurf, right, Jaren? It's not a flat Earth map. It's an azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection, and the globe was created with flat Earth elevation angle measurements of stars. Just to be clear.
Wasn't Jaren part of a whole group of people back in 2016 showing how that map was wrong?
Yeah, he participated in tracking the sun on a flat Earth live, because before TFE, long before Duffy was being accused of fraud, working on TFE, we'd already tracked the sun and figured out the azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection wasn't a flat Earth map or accurate. Jaren was there, he took part. Jaren already knew, but it was inconvenient for his shill arc to decry the flat Earth alleged map that he's just called it at that particular juncture. So therefore he retained it in spite of having debunked it. So he could then debunk it and say you're actually on a globe, because this azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection that's come from a globe that was created with flat Earth elevation angles means we're not on a flat Earth map as it is. Just a charlatan. Jaren's a scumbag and a liar.
Well, based off of his standard of evidence, and he say they're a small one, that if somebody has crazy ideas, that's okay, but if they're showing evidence that debunks those ideas, then they should concede that those ideas are wrong. Well, he has this crazy idea, supposedly, that it's a globe. And back in 2016, the positions of the sun in relation to people on the Earth was shown to be not in alignment with his globe projection, the AE projection.
Yeah, he also conceded this to, I think it was Vaxi, who went on Jaren's show and said, why are you claiming this is a flat Earth map when you had already debunked it as being incorrect? And his response was something to the effect of, it was only an hour out. Or to put it another way, wrong. So he knew it was wrong and retained it anyway, because it was useful for his shill arc, his character arc, to retain the azimuthal North Pole-centric globe projection as a claim to be flat Earth map, as he's just called it. That's what charlatans and scammers do. Because that's what he is. He also simultaneously was out there calling me a scammer and charlatan whilst being exactly that.
Earth map that there can be, because we know
1 second, Nathan. Pause a sec, sorry. It was an hour out several times. It wasn't just like for different locations. It wasn't just 1 hour out. The way he said that.
No, that's what he said. That's not the case, yes. You're right, but that's what he said. No, there were multiple locations that did not line up with time and date and what we actually observed at solar noon when tracking the sun on a flat Earth live, with the azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection as the base that we utilised to check if it was an accurate flat Earth map. And it isn't. He knew it back then, but obviously retaining it and saying that means Earth's not a flat plane was useful
it's not an accurate globe map.
In 2025. Go ahead, sorry.
So the point is that he said once evidence is produced that shows that someone's crazy idea is wrong, then they should concede. That's a globe map, as in the land positions, right? Or the land masses and the sizes, everything else is all based off of a globe, right? The globe was wrong.
Yeah.
Not flat out.
Yeah, the globe it was originally projected from would have this.
It's not a globe then.
You're saying that the globe it was projected from has the scales incorrect for the projection.
Yeah, the
globe
latitude and longitude grade is correct, but all the land masses are all warped and wrong. So your longitudes are right.
Yeah, I'd completely go with that.
So they should be conceding that.
Well, no, he's a scammer. Jaren's just a scammer.
All right.
Locations of the continents. We know that the sun brings them light and heat every day, every 24 hours. And we know the tropics those aren't man-made. Those are the furthest north and south the sun goes, and we know the equator. So
those are all measured with flat Earth elevation angles, though, aren't they? To the sun or Polaris. So what you're leaning into here is flat Earth elevation angle measurements to all of the luminaries. to suggest that we're not on a flat plane? That seems idiotic, Jaron. Almost like you're a scammer.
Oh, from sea level as well.
Yeah.
Once you lay those out on a piece of paper or on a map, then you have the A
On a flat piece of paper with flat scales and flat distances, then it's flat.
map. So I don't know what they think. Once you've debunked the A map, you have debunked flat Earth.
With the globe projection, you mean? No, you haven't debunked flat Earth by debunking what the rulers of this world produced to deceive us. That's maps on a large scale. There's thousands of them. So you're saying because we've got thousands of flat maps with thousands of flat scales and flat distances that are used successfully to navigate, Earth's not flat because we've got distorted land masses. Yeah, we know exactly why they distorted the land masses. The people who owned the land wanted to make their land seem bigger, so they distorted it on the maps. Okay, that means it's not flat. No, it means the land masses are distorted on the flat maps with flat scales that we use successfully in navigation, that we charted the world with. Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were finished, but I thought you were going to play in the video again. So I was going to say, if you look at the AE map, the distortions on that are because they're trying to fit the actual positions of the land masses onto a globe, which will change their longitude positions. This is why you look at the AE or Gleason's AE map or Gleason's projection. You have best example out of them is Australia, is like about 2.5 times the size it really is. Do you know what I mean? When it's actually only the same size as what America looks like, are actually even slightly smaller on some parts than what America looks like on that map. So there's one example. Another one is Tahiti and Hawaii. They're not in the same time zone. You know, that's all because globe. That's globe. So anyone who is matching their observations to that projection, which is a globe projection, and it's shown to be wrong, that means the globe failed, not flat Earth.
Yeah, it shows the inaccuracies in the globe projection. Absolutely correct. Right, with that, any final comments before I round out the live show?
Jaron is not.
Jaron's a knob?
No, Jaron is ace, not.
I didn't hear that second time either. One more time.
Jaron is ace, not.
Oh, Jaron is ace, not. Yeah, okay. Very 2000s. Not. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
Sexual Goat put a video from this guy. I guess he's from the Jaron camp. Hysterical, Brian.
What is?
Sensual Goat is a Jaron guy? Is that what you said?
No. He posted a video. See, you get shit wrong all the time.
Oh, sorry, Mumbles.
You call
I'm out and about. I'm not home, so I'm on the road. Wise ass.
Say that again to me, Neil. I missed what you said. Sorry. I got distracted.
It was a video that Nathan reviewed earlier this morning. And I guess the guy, supposed ex-flat earther, who's disgusted and is coming after all the flat earthers. Because once you have no answers for South, buddy, it's a ball.
Yeah, it sounds like just another liar. There's no end to them. The amount of these supposed ballers that are ex-flat earthers is ridiculous.
I just money grabbers. At that point, they've figured it out. Oh, the algorithm favours Simon Dan and Professor Dave and anybody else who's saying it's not a ball. I know, I'll come out as an ex-flat earther. That makes me unique. I'll get promoted in the algorithm.
Yeah, I remember Craig McNeil having, what's the guy's name now? I can't remember
Tony,
the guy's name
Ian,
now.
Fred, Simon.
No, he used to be hanging around on Jose JGs all the time. And he was claiming to be an ex-Marine or ex-Army special guy or something like that, right? And he said, like, one of the first times, I remember hearing him, this is way back in about 2016, I remember hearing him on some other places on YouTube, and he's saying, that he was a flat earther, but he never said anything. He never gave any reasons why. He just tried. I think he tried to throw out one or two stupid things, and straight away, like this is way back now. I'd say it was in the topic maybe because I came into it in 2015. He could have been around even then, saying this rubbish. So like straight away, like I was brand new with it, and straight away I knew this guy was a bullshitter, right? And about, I think it was like 3 weeks after I first heard him. I know it wasn't. It was sometime after I first heard him. So like he had gone missing, and then suddenly he's on Craig McNeil's show, Fight Flat Earth show, one of his first shows, being interviewed about why he's now an ex-flat earther, and he said it's because the Earth is really big, right? Like this guy, it was like Tony G or something was his name. But this guy was such a fraud, right? That after getting his ass handed to him by people who are no good at debating, right? In Jose JG's flat earthers who aren't even good at debating most of the time, right? For about 2 years straight, he then disappears. And he comes back 2 years later. He says he's leaving because he wants to, instead of arguing with flat earthers, he wants to spend his time with his children, right? All this rubbish, right? And this is a fella now who was an ex-Marine or something, supposedly. He comes back 2 years later, and he's a geodetic surveyor.
What, as in 2 years later he comes back and he's now become a geodetic surveyor, or is suggesting he's a geodetic surveyor?
No, he's pretending like he's always been a geodetic surveyor or something. Like it's like he was never an ex-Marine, he was like never Marine, or do you know what I mean? He's just making shit up.
These, pretenders. I mean, there's several different categories, isn't there? Because there's another category called LARPer. You know what a LARPer is? Live action role play, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean when I say flat Earth LARPer?
Yeah, people pretend to be flat earthers who are globals.
Yeah.
On this one.
Yeah. It's like Neil does a bit of live action replay, or whatever you call it, role play, where he pretends to be a globie. So on Monday's show, we went through housekeeping, and Neil, he got a lot of comments. I don't know if you noticed on that video, Neil. A lot of people really appreciated you being a baller because it was hilarious.
Oh yeah, when I was
he's not doing live action role play.
Well, it's a testament.
I was playing baller very badly.
You weren't. You were playing it perfectly. That's the point. Everyone found it funny because of how appropriately you played the baller. You did it beautifully. Maybe you don't realize how well you played the baller because you think you did it badly.
Yeah, what can I say?
That's why I said he's not doing live action role play. He's just being himself.
You're a natural baller.
I think the 24-hour sun in Antarctica's turned him.
Is that true, Neil? It was one comment that said something like, you were pointing out that I just don't accept the model, and that got the most laughs.
Yeah, that is the rubbish you're told.
You're just not accepting the model we've been given. Something like that.
Hey, you know what I hate, Nathan? Right?
Chicken.
This is a pet peeve of mine, and I would say it annoyed you too. At one time, I would hear conspiracy theorists trying to pull apart the English language, you know, and they'd be saying, "Do you see the way this word is constructed this way? Because it really means this thing."
You mean like television? Because it tells you lies.
That's the exact example I was going to give you. The exact example. It's not the teleportation of a vision. It's television. Yeah, exactly. Oh, God.
Programming. Because it programs you.
Yeah, it's all witchcraft. You know, this kind of nonsense. Give us a break, will you? You know.
I mean, I've done all that back in, 2014? When you talk about how language does program you. but then you example it with how people's words can convince others to believe in things like a ball, just by telling them or teaching them. Well, that's words being used as spelling, right? Well, that's a loose example of the same thing, but it's not as egregious as television because it's exampled. Like, if I perform the magic trick of making a cup of tea appear, and then I turn around to one of my daughters and say, "Can you make me a cup of tea, please?" And then one magically appears. That's the mere use of words and language to make something happen.
Yeah. Like, the globe is a great example of it, because the whole globe and heliocentric paradigm is filled with those spells, you know. But saying television is not this, like that. No, it's just a teleportation of a vision. Television. My God.
Well,
I mean,
when it comes to explaining how Earth is a ball, in this context, right? The trick is as follows. Describe a flat Earth measurement, potentially with enough detail to overwhelm your listener. That is to say, you've got more detail on this flat Earth measurement than your audience does. Then after you've detailed one or maybe many flat Earth measurements, say as follows. That means Earth is a ball. I'll give you an example. We've got latitude and longitude, therefore it's obvious we can only be on a ball. See how easy it is? Yeah. I've measured the sun for 24 hours. Here's my elevation angle measurements. Therefore, the Earth is a ball. See how easy it is?
Exactly, Neil.
Or you can add.
Yeah, but then you don't understand, Nathan.
Hold on, Neil. Whoever that was, go ahead.
Or you can add, that's because it only works on a ball.
Yeah. Rumpus used to do it in a much more egregious way. He'd say things like, quote, sextants only work on a ball. End statement. What, an angle measuring device that uses surface level for an elevation angle to measure the line between you and the sun or you and a star and a flat plane for it to form an angle. That only works on a ball. End statement. It's really easy, isn't it? This flat earth only measuring tool only works on a ball, is what he's actually saying.
Yeah, it's the real coin hijack of your proof that it's not a globe. And I mean, isn't it? The real time hijack of the actual measurements of Earth that prove that it's 180 degrees opposite from a sphere. You know?
Yeah. So you go, we travelled south. Okay, I'm pointing south. It's out towards the horizon. Gotcha. And therefore we arrived on the bottom of a ball. What? Didn't you just say you went south? Yeah, you can only go south on a ball. Gyro compasses. That's what I got in my comments at the moment. If I travel north and I go north to flat Earth direction, not on a gyro compass. Yeah, it's still a flat Earth direction even if you're using a gyro compass.
Yeah, you're still using the horizontal compass to work horizontally because directions are horizontal.
But therefore we went down to the bottom of a ball that I presupposed when using this flat Earth only directionality. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you saying you went south and then alleging that that means you're on a ball? It makes no sense. But for the uninitiated, if you add that means it can only work on a ball, your numpty numbskull idiot who's been trained to believe they're on a ball from birth anyway has their bias affirmed with something more complicated than they've looked into. So latitude, well, that means ball. Oh, yeah. No! What's latitude? I don't know, but this man just said it only works on a ball, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, like the guy this morning, the sign maker.
Yeah. Precisely.
Yeah, but that's it, you see. It's like the ignorant don't know what the hell a gyro compass is, because the word gyro was in front of it, and even if they Google it, they'll start seeing... They won't understand the rhetoric that's within let's say the articles about it. So they go to the images, and the images will show them diverging verticals and changing orientation horizontals. You know what I mean? Around the globe with a little gyroscope, right, on the outside of this globe as a diagram showing that's how the gyrocompass works, kind of nonsense. And they just go, "Oh, it's a globe then," when they don't, when they're after just being completely fooled. Like, you're seeing vertical and horizontal on a diagram involving a sphere. Do you know what I mean?
Is that
can't
why?
be. Yeah. People
Is
are
that
easily
why? Hold on,
fooled.
Brian. Is that why in chat that's all they keep talking about? Is gyro compasses can't work on a flat Earth because they seen a picture? Wow.
No, and it's not because they've just seen the picture, Neil. No, you missed the point. That's for the ignorant, right? But a lot of these people are not as ignorant as the people they're fooling, but they're still completely ignorant. Like, if I ask them what's the difference between the Sperry Mark 1 and, you know, the current gyro compasses from Sperry, they wouldn't be able to tell me. They wouldn't be able to tell me that. They wouldn't be able to tell me how the Sperry Mark 1 worked. Do you know what I mean? They wouldn't be able to tell you a lot of things because most of these people don't actually research the thing. They just get a confirmation bias and they can rattle off that makes them sound like they're knowledgeable, to the ignorant Joe on the street, that kind of person, and they are getting a pat in the back as if they have somehow, you know, being the wise one or something. When you actually learn about these things and you question them about them, they don't have answers, and half the time they don't know what you're talking about. And that's from experience. I'm saying that because I've done that.
Yeah,
I think they just look at the picture.
They say it all the time, don't they? Well, the sextant can only work on a globe. And then you say, well, how was this globe measured? I say, well, elevation angles, obviously.
No. It's too hard to measure. It's too big.
No, it's not. The Greeks measured it flat.
Captain Edgewise.
You know, 2,000 years ago, they measured it flat. Using angles, elevation angles, depression angles, sea level. So apparently it's been measured that way.
No. One deck, the guy this morning, the sign maker said, it's too big to measure curvature. What's wrong with you? Come on.
Oh, dear. Where do I got all these measurements then?
Flat.
The reason they're all talking about the gyro compass at the moment is because they do these things in cycles. They'll keep going on about the gyro compass until we decide to just deal with the problem, and then they'll just shut up about it. Because they will be pointing out that there isn't any evidence for what they're claiming. And the gyro compass doesn't do what they're claiming, and they'll shut up about it. And suddenly they want to talk about the Coriolis effect. Do you know what I mean? It's this group effort all the time with them, where they go from one topic to the next, to the next, to the next, hopscotch from one topic to the next. And that's what they do. You know, as soon as the gyro compass thing is dealt with, they'll be on to some other part. They want to talk about gravity. You know, what does everything go down? It doesn't. Everything doesn't go down. But the things don't go down is because, you know what I mean? It's like, no, they want now to not talk about gravity or to not talk about the Coriolis effect or whatever. They want to now talk about gyro compasses. Like, they were doing this since 2015, literally 2015.
Yeah. You said Coriolis. Once I demonstrate that Earth is flat, they could take that Coriolis and wipe their ass with it because it means nothing anymore.
That's why it's good. I mean, I know what you mean, Brian.
No, that's incorrect. That's incorrect. Coriolis is a real world effect. It's a real effect. It just doesn't.
You're right. Earth-based Coriolis. I'm sorry. You're right. I misspoke. There is Coriolis, just not the one we're talking about.
Just so you know as well, like, it is good to know about all these things. I do agree with you, Brian. But then, like, these idiots who are just bringing these topics back up to keep making us explain different things in a circle jerking fashion. As soon as they say, well, you know, this gyroscope can only work on a globe. Well, yeah, let's talk about how that globe's measured first. Let's get back down to that.
Oh, let's
You don't
talk
have to
about
go into-
gyroscopes. No, let's just talk about gyroscopes. And then, you know what I mean? We go to where they want to go to, and then you get into measurements. Like, the point I'm making is, I suppose you could go straight to measurement if you want, but the reason they're doing this one day is because they're throwing it out there as if this is some question we've never answered to new people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To give the impression to anyone who might be new or coming into the topic that this is some big question that we're not able to answer. Yeah, we've dealt with that years ago.
What are you talking about? We answer it every time. When Edgewise came in, we answered his stupid questions or his claims.
Well, it can only work on a flat Earth because Earth is measured flat, and sea level is part of that measurement, all measurements on Earth. It can only work on a level horizontal plane because that's where all measurements have come from across the whole of Earth.
It uses a gyroscope and a compass. They don't work on a globe.
That's correct.
Okay, Brian, then explain the north-seeking MK1 gyro compass.
North is a horizontal. North is horizontal. See if he acknowledges it. 10 times it took last time. 10 times. Let's see if he can do it on the first attempt. North is horizontal.
Yeah, horizontal on the tangent plane on the sphere as well.
But tangent, no. If you're going to be measuring elevation angles, no, you can only measure it with respect to the surface. So you're saying that you don't have any surface level measurements.
Surface level on the sphere, yes, sure.
No, you've just said it's a tangent plane. Well, that's not your surface then, is it? That's not your surface then.
From a point you're measuring.
So it's not the surface then. A single point's not the surface, is it?
Of course. It's a point on the surface. And
but you've only got measurements from one single point. The rest of the measurements are off a plane, correct?
If you measure from multiple points...
You didn't say yes or no. You asked me a question. It seems like this is going to take 10 attempts as well. So you haven't got any measurements of your surface, only a single point. But the measurements themselves are off a plane, correct?
Of a tangential plane.
Yeah, plane.
On this,
yeah, flat plane.
The globe one.
Yeah, flat plane.
Yeah, the globe one, yeah.
Yeah, so it's nothing to do with the plane if it's circular and spherical, according to you. Because you haven't got any surface measurements anymore.
The angle is still at the point. You measure.
You can't get an angle from a sphere. You can't get an angle from a sphere.
So, on the flat Earth, when you're measuring an angle from your location.
Bro, why are you asking me something? You can't get an angle from a sphere, can you?
Of course, if there's
no,
a vertical,
you can't. It's two straight lines. Are you demented?
Yeah, vertical is a straight line.
Yeah, so you need a flat Earth for that.
No.
Well, why are you saying you need a tangent plane then?
Because the tangent plane is automatically...
So you need a plane then? So you need a flat plane then? You just said no. So we're going to just discontinue this conversation. Now you're talking through me. We're going to discontinue this conversation because you're disingenuous. You said no after describing a flat plane that's measured. So you're a disingenuous liar, aren't you? You just said no.
You don't have east-west.
You just said no.
Flat Earth.
Yeah, so you're going to ignore me. So when you're proven to be a disingenuous lying scumbag, I said you're going to measure it off a plane. You said no. So you're a liar, aren't you?
No.
So it is measured off a, quote, tangent plane then. That's a flat... So now you're going to rumpus me. I'm just going to mute you. You stuttery bitch! You're measuring off a plane. Now we're getting silent, so you don't want to rumpus me anymore.
You're rumpusing me. You're talking through
stuttery bitch. So. We measure Earth flat. You can't get an angle from a curved surface.
You can.
No, you can't. You can. That's why you said we measure a tangent plane. Plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a flat plane then. So that's a flat plane then. You said no.
Yeah, but the vertical.
Yeah, so you said no. That's the point. I'm going to remove this man from the conversation. Lying scumbag said no. So now you get to piss off till tomorrow. Don't fucking lie to us.
Yeah, it's just straight out lying.
Yeah, lying scum. You've got to lie to Glurf.
Nathan.
And it's just 1 second, Ian, sorry. It's an elevation angle, which means it's an elevation above a surface. You're not going to get that off of a tangent.
Yeah, but what
I
they're
covered that too,
talking
didn't I?
about
Hold
is
on,
the
Neil.
freaking picture.
Neil, just chill. Yes, Brian, I covered that with him and said, it's from the surface, it's an elevation angle. And he said, yes, a tangent plane. And I was like, okay, so a flat plane then? No. So you've got to lie to Glurf. That's what he's just done. That's why I've removed him. Because there's no point continuing a conversation where, it is from a plane. Only 30 seconds ago, the reason I'm pissed at him, he said, no, it's not from a plane. So fuck off. Why are you even here, you disingenuous scumbag lying Glurf?
But he lied to his voice there. But when he says you get your elevation off a tangent, that's a complete and utter lie.
Of course. Can't get an elevation angle from a tangent. It's only 1 point on the surface, and elevation's from the surface.
And then he says you can get an angle off a surface, but I'm just going to use a horizontal plane instead.
Yeah, I have a picture posted in Master B. This is what they're talking about.
Yeah, he won't be using a horizontal plane if he's using a sphere one deck. The tangents can't be horizontal.
We're all reading from the Buster script.
They're all liars. They're here to lie. So when I say you're using a flat plane, he denies it. But simultaneously wants to utilise it as a tangent plane. That's a plane that he denied. So fuck off. Lying bastard scum, Glurf. I'm sick of them. And they expect to continue in the conversation, rumpusing the shit out of me, stuttering through me, like the Glurf fucking scum they are. Get lost.
That's right. That's what they do. It's hard. I'm sick of them myself. They're just constant liars. Constant liars.
This is all they can do, like come in and try and disturb and talk nonsense on purpose, knowing exactly what they're saying and saying one thing and then contradicting themselves with another, but never actually getting to any proof of globe evidence, because if they do try and do that intelligently, they'll be describing how Earth's measured flat using sea level and elevation angles.
No, they claim they can get a 90 to a sphere, but they use a tangent. That's right. That's right. To be now, look at it. This is their Bible right now. But they deny it. Like Nathan just had him put his feet to the fire. He said tangent because he needs a flat plane, and then he denied it.
Yep, exactly, Neil. Well summarised. I'm sick of it. All we ever deal with Glurfs is lies. They have to come and lie at us. It really pisses me off.
Yeah, but you've got to lie. They have to lie.
Yeah.
That's all they can do.
The minute I say, well, it's not your surface then. Oh, it's my surface at a single point. No, the elevation angle's off surface level. For it to be an angle. No, we don't have to measure it flat. You just said you used a plane. No, don't use it. You just said we used a plane. Yeah, we do. Okay. Never come back. If you've got to lie to interact with us, why are you even here?
Yeah, like they want to say the point they stand upon is a point upon the surface of the sphere, but then all our measurements involve, they all have to start after that with a tangent plane. Do you know what I mean? Which has nothing to do with the Earth. That's geometrically a line that touches the surface of a circular sphere at one point. That line is not the surface of that circle or that sphere. So, it's a nothing more. So it's going to turn when we make, let's just say, with a theodolite, a horizontal that's parallel to mean sea level. They instantly want to try and call that line, that parallel line. They want to call that a tangent. But we're literally using that parallel line to measure the elevation angles of, to the top of a mountain or whatever. We're at a big distance. We're literally using that, for a real world measurement. You cannot claim a tangent. You cannot use a tangent. Things like angular size measurements at distance will fail immediately, if you're trying to use a tangent, they don't work. None of this stuff works on a sphere.
Brian, listen, I get it now. He said, he didn't say that. He said it's a virtual tangent, not a physical one.
He's serious. That's what he's after just saying.
Yes, he took the chat because Nathan, I guess, kicked him out.
Such thing as that all tangents are vertical, are
virtual.
Virtual. None
Does he
of them
think there's a real line going across?
I think he does. Yeah, I mean that's a virtual. Even the horizontal we make this, but let's say with the theodolite, we make a horizontal that's parallel to mean sea level. That horizontal is a virtual. Like you don't see it, you can't cut it in half, or you know what I mean, crash into it. It's not, you know what I mean. It's a line, but it's not. You can't see it.
So let me get his exact words, Brian. I said it is a virtual flat plane, not a real physical one. So what is the point of saying it is a flat plane and you taking it as a flat earth argument? Oh, this ain't an argument.
No, hold. No, the horizontal line we make with a theodolite, for instance, right? That horizontal, that is parallel to mean sea level, or with an auto level, that's parallel to mean sea level, right? The Earth has to be flat, right? And then at mean sea level, must be a horizontal plane for that line to be parallel to it, for us to do the measurements we do with that horizontal line, using that horizontal line. Same for in an airplane, right? The Earth the mean sea level has to be a horizontal plane for that line to be parallel to it. If that line is not parallel to it, we won't be able to make the measurements and navigate the Earth as we do. So no, when he's trying to plane a plane, and they were saying, well, it's just a plane, it's just a virtual plane. It's like, no, your plane is a tangent that's not parallel to anything. So it has no relevance.
Exactly, Brian.
Funny how they never mention curvature when trying to explain curvature. They have to mention planes and horizontals, tangent lines. That's one of the 30 words they shouldn't be using. It's all angles, horizontal and planes in their globe world.
Yeah, but they want to attach a dangling berry of an Earth beneath the plane they're actually measuring and say, yeah, we're measuring a flat plane. It's perfectly okay for me to measure a flat plane because I've got an Earth that's dangling beneath it. Therefore, Earth's a sphere. You're like, piss off. You're measuring Earth flat? No, we're not. It's like, all right, so you're just going to lie.
I just want to say one thing. They do mention curvature. They invoke it the minute they say tangent. Then they're invoking the curvature that was never measured.
Yeah, they're begging the question.
Immediately invoking it. Sorry.
Well, they're begging the question. If they say tangent plane, you're like, okay, so we're measuring Earth flat as a tangent plane. So therefore, we're measuring Earth flat on a plane, but there's a dangling dingleberry you've assumed we're tangential to at a single point that is no longer Earth's surface. Pretty much exactly as I just put to him. And what was the response? No. Yeah, you need to measure Earth flat and claim that there's a dangling Earth beneath it at a tangential point. So not the surface of your globe, but the moment I said that, he started rumpusing the shit out of me, didn't he? The moment I said it's not the globe surface, then that's when he starts lying.
Yes, but Ryan, you're right. The minute they say freaking tangent, that's the freaking curve. They're invoking a curve that's not there.
Red herring. They want you to ask them where they got a tangential point from. Because then you're already into assuming you've got a plane that we can measure, that's Earth's surface, that we're measuring. But we've also got an Earth below it, but that we're not measuring, that's perfectly acceptable to assume and transpose into, like on screen. That's what he's described. This is the tangential plane he described, with north being upwards and up being outwards. It's a complete clusterfuck. Look at it. Meanwhile, where have we actually got the angle from? Well, from hell. this centre point. That's where the angle's actually being measured from. Out along the equatorial plane, described as tangential to a planar surface that won't work. No, you'll have to transpose it into the ball. But so long as you can say, yeah, I'm okay to measure this bit flat, because it's tangent to a ball I'll transpose the angle into later. No, you just need to measure an angle from the surface. North isn't up, and up isn't out. This is garbage. Just measuring Earth flat.
Here's a good one for you. Wait for you, bro, guy.
Yeah, I just want to say, just on Nathan's point about garbage, that is the geometric screwball, isn't it? Go on, Ian.
Here's one for you. You clowns claim that celestial navigation uses trigonometry. Then what's the height of the star, wise guy? This is what we get.
So in other words, if I can turn a flat Earth prerequisite measurement we do absolutely use into an if statement, I can put the burden on you to justify how this now if statement, based on how Earth actually gets measured, would mean that you don't have the capability of measuring something that changes with altitude. No, number one, how the stars get measured with elevation angles off the surface isn't an if statement. And being able to measure the stars with elevation angles isn't a useful endeavour to find their height. Nobody's travelling to the stars. We don't need to measure their height. We do measure their ground position with elevation angles, but that's suddenly been turned into an if statement now. So you can suddenly make it my burden to prove the height of stars like it matters. When you hear that, what I say to them is, so you understand and accept that Earth will be measured flat for this example then, with an elevation angle. Because you've just made it an if statement. Like it's not the case that we measure elevation angles. Like if it's true. No, it's not if we measure elevation angles. We measure elevation angles. Do you accept that or not? You do, then Earth's flat. That's how we're measuring it. What's that? I don't know the height. Who gives a shit? Neither do you.
Yeah, that's... Sorry.
No, done. That's
I
it.
just want to say that's one of the most dishonest positions to hold. Because we never claimed that we're using trigonometry to determine the height of any star or celestial body. We claim, not a claim, but we just state as a fact that they use, and we would use elevation angles to the celestial bodies. We don't use trigonometry to determine the height, but we do use a right angle triangle. So the fact that we're now supposed to give them a height of a star, what that is them admitting that the elevation angle is used, it is a right angle triangle, and it is off of a flat Earth. That's them actually admitting that, if you listen to what they're saying. So you said using trigonometry, we didn't say anything. It's just the fact that they use a right angle triangle. That vertical measurement, the measurement of this, the angular measurement height of the celestial body, off of the surface, that is the opposite. That is a straight line. That is the vertical. That's the opposite of a right angle triangle. You just don't use trigonometry because you're not looking to know the height of the star. And even if you were looking to know the height of the star, these people know it can't be known. As you rise up, the angle doesn't change. The star appears to rise with you. You cannot ever get the height of the star. You don't even know what a star is. So it's the most dishonest position they hold. Go on.
This, you're saying the heights of stars is in none of the books or documents regarding celestial navigation. It doesn't come into it. Yeah, it's irrelevant. It's not listed in any of the books.
It's worse than that one day. They're trying to say because not just us, anyone can't use trigonometry to get the actual height of a celestial body. That means somehow that we're not using an elevation angle, which is a right angle triangle, and the Earth is not flat. No. Like nobody, no matter what you do, will ever give you a distance to a celestial body. They can't determine any distance to a celestial body with actual measurement because it's impossible to measure. They don't behave terrestrially. So that position is the most dishonest position I think they ever held against us. Because they are fully aware that it can't be done. Which is why, in their paradigm, when they try and invoke, one second, which is why when they try to invoke celestial navigation for a globe, right, they must claim that all the celestial bodies, like all the stars, are an infinite distance away. Yes, within their paradigm, all these things have an actual distance. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why do you need a claim to infinite distance? Because they can't be measured. The distance to them can't be measured. They're fully aware of this. Sorry,
Okay, so you just
annoys me.
the question. So you just answered the question. So why am I getting? Okay, so you don't know.
We never claimed we did know. Nobody ever claimed that you could use trigonometry to gain the actual height of a celestial body. If he wants to give us the actual height of a celestial body and give us all the measurements from step one, then he's welcome.
I have a question. What are we using it for anyway? Are we using it to navigate the ground?
Yes.
So what's the problem?
Well, the problem is that they have to concede that elevation angles are used, and when they do, they'd rather say, well, if we use elevation angles, rather than we use elevation angles, because then they can put the onus on us to prove the impossible, which is a utilisation of the stars for height when we're not travelling to the stars, therefore their distance, height, which is also planar, becomes their main focus, because it's easier than conceding that Earth can only be measured flat for those elevation angles to those stars, which we do navigate with.
Just want to say...
Sorry, Ray.
Go on, you go one day, I'll say so.
Just a quick... Yeah, the equipment that's being used in celestial navigation is designed to measure elevation angles.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, that's what all that equipment does. But I just want to say that taking the angular height of a mountain at a distance, or the angular size of a building at a distance, or taking your elevation angle to a celestial body, is the same exact thing. The only difference is what you use afterwards. So for a mountain or a building, if you know the distance to it, you can determine based off of the angular size its actual height. Or if you know its actual height, you can determine your distance to it based off its angle, right? But that's an after calculation. The measurement itself is exactly the same. Now, we don't have the after calculation to give us the height of the celestial body. We don't have that. Not just us as in flat Earth. Nobody has that. So don't be putting that position onto us. Because the actual measurement of the angular height of the mountain or the building, we're using a right triangle, is exactly the same in celestial navigation for the celestial bodies. It's just the calculation afterwards. That's different.
Yeah. Forget the distance to any light in the sky. What we do know is when we're using the sea sextant, there'll be 2 points along the surface of sea level, yeah, where the observer is and the GP of the sun, say, along the horizontal baseline, yeah, and that distance could be in the region of 5,400 miles of a straight horizontal line across sea level.
Yeah, I
it's
wonder
definitely
how
flat.
Sorry.
John Bryan, sorry.
Go on, Mondex. Sorry, go on. I cut you off. I thought you were finished.
No, I was finished, mate. It's all right. Go for it.
I wonder how good his tangent plane nonsense will work out for a bubble sextant from an airplane. How does that work when they require a horizontal? Where's your tangent then?
Exactly. The tangent's never used. You're using a bubble sextant or you're utilising sea level for your horizontal level. So I'm using the surface of it.
Go on. I'm over talking.
It's all right. No, I'm saying you're either using the surface of Earth for your horizontal, or you're using a bubble level for the horizontal. In either case, you're using a horizontal.
Yeah, what they used to be trying to say is, the bubble section just creates a vertical. What? We're talking about an elevation angle here. That requires a measurement off of horizontal. Once you create a vertical, you automatically 90 degrees to that, which is what they're using to measure, is the horizontal. They used to be trying to say, we just create a vertical and just take a measure off that. No, you can't do that. You must take the elevation. And you have to take the elevation first. That's how it's done. And if you're claiming a vertical, then you're also claiming a horizontal, which means the Earth is flat. Idiots.
They're using a lot of these 30 words, aren't they, when they're trying to explain curvature?
They just won't stop. Like they can't. The orientations of vertical and horizontal, they only exist if the earth is flat. They do exist, so the earth is flat. It's that simple.
The simplicity is what kills them. They feel it has to be something more difficult than that. It can't be as easy as measuring, but it is. Got to be the indoctrination. You know, the globe indoctrination, how complicated everything is. But really, it's just flat. Oh, no, it can't be that.
For me, the most annoying part about our opposition is, I have to say, over time, I've learned to laugh at it, but even though I've learned to do that, it still annoys me. Is that once they're shown to be wrong by someone who on our side who has the knowledge to show them to be wrong by something, a measurement or whatever, they will then go to someone that they know doesn't understand the topic, and they know that they know a bit more about it, and they'll just straight out lie to that person. Like, if the earth is a globe, why do you need to lie to the ignorant? Like, I don't need. Go on, Monday. Go on.
I'm just saying, if the Earth is a globe, why do you keep using horizontal planes to measure it?
Well, if the Earth is truly a globe, then, I don't need any lies for anyone, regardless of their education or intellect. I don't need to lie to that person. I can lay out the measurements of Earth and show how they prove it to be flat. I don't need to deceive anyone. Whereas our opposition are constantly deceiving people. If you have such faith in this globe of yours, then how come you need to constantly lie and lie to those, especially to those who you know are ignorant? It's obvious. You know there is no globe, and how you know is because of the fact that you have to lie. Nathan's still there.
Absentee landlord, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Just wondering who's gone very quiet.
He's gone off on a tangent.
A virtual tangent.
When they say that, it's an immediate hijack. Now, I know Nathan used to be saying earlier, it's a red herring, and it is. But it is a red herring, but I have to say I've taken it, and knowingly taken it, because you can ask them, where did they get the measurements from to create this tangent? That would require a sphere or a circle, so where did you get that measurement? And then they have to start coming up with nonsense. And you end up in the same place when you're just pulling them apart where they need it. Where they're trying to deny needing a flat plane, because that's what it is, isn't it? They have to deny the necessity of the flat plane. So they'll do everything they can to repurpose it, repurpose the plane. They're trying to call it anything but what it is,
But they still want that straight horizontal line, even though the tangent's only got 1 point to a sphere underneath it dangling. They still want the horizontal line, the horizontal baseline, because they need it. They have to have it.
Well, if the Earth, sorry, come on.
That's it. Simple.
If the Earth's a globe, then why would you need to beg the question of the globe? Because that's exactly what was done earlier by the lad, what's his name? Dr. Edgeways or whatever his name is. If that was like, why would you need to beg the question of a globe? If the Earth is a globe, why would you need to beg the question for? Why would you need to pre-assume the Earth is a globe to even start talking about it? So I think we need to come up with just a second. I think we need to come up with a list of questions. I think it would be good. Things that asking them, why did they need to do this if the Earth is a globe? Like, why did they need to tell lies to the ignorant if the Earth is a globe? Why did they need to pre-assume the Earth is a globe to start making a claim about a globe if the Earth is a globe? Things like that. Go on, Monday.
No, I mean, basically along them lines, I do constantly ask them, if you think you live on a globe, please tell us who measured it, when, and what equipment was used. And they'll be measuring angles when they start to explain that, and elevation angles, and level, and horizontal. They might want a tangent plane. It's not curved.
Well, if the Earth's a globe, how come they have to pre-assume it as a globe?
Because they can't measure it. It's not been measured, so they have to just make one up, and then put horizontal lines on top of it to get the elevation angles that they need.
Okay, then if the Earth's a globe, how come they feel the need to lie to the ignorant?
They've got to lie, haven't they? They have to lie because the Earth's not a globe and there's no evidence of measurements.
That's the answer. That's the answer I was looking for.
You're asking
because the Earth's not a globe.
2 men.
Sorry?
Don't do that, was sorry, Brian.
Sound like Sasha or something.
Hopefully it's a globe with some globe proof describing elevation handles from a horizontal baseline.
That's not the way how you measure the globe.
No, we have a globe expert. That's all about it.
Did you measure it, Sasha?
Yeah, the best way to prove globe is avoid all geometry, close your eyes when you make observation, and globe will be there.
Well, it's the mathematics, isn't it? I mean, it starts with a elevation angle from sea level, and then it's mathematically turned into a globe, so-called model that nobody's seen. Refracted did it with his kitchen, didn't he? He turned his kitchen into a globe using elevation angles and angle measurements and horizontal distances of his kitchen floor. Very simple to do.
Yeah, he just pre-assumed that his light bulb was an infinite distance away. That's what he did. And he was able to turn his kitchen floor into a globe.
Just like Eratosthenes did. Measured angles, then did some maths and turned it into a sphere. But the initial measurement, actual measurement, not calculation, the measurement was angle measurements, 2 straight lines, using the surface of Earth, not a horizontal plane inside a circle.
Well, the thing is that for him to even do that, he had to measure the length of his floor, and he had to do that horizontally. Just like he had to measure the length and breadth of the Earth. You know what I mean? Up to a point, using celestial bodies to create the latitude and longitude grid. And then they could create a globe. You know what I mean? But they needed to actually make sure the Earth was really, really horizontal first.
We'll just measure it flat, then we'll just turn it into a globe afterwards. But hopefully you'll forget about that first measurement and we can just talk about the globe. Did you ever watch that short clip I posted on that level flight?
Which one? I haven't seen.
I think it's not a. It's only a short video. I think we got onto other subjects last week, but there's a little. I don't know if Nathan wants to have a look at it or you do or what, but it's just a pilot. It's just interesting. Yeah, level flight. Yeah, it's just it's interesting listening to the pilot. It's just he's only flying a small aircraft, but the terminology he's using and the wording is it's quite relevant. It's just, and it's not us saying it to ballers. This is a pilot explaining how you would, using vision and parts of the plane to establish horizontal level flight. Like I was saying last week, I think it's good to do this sometimes rather than us harping on about these things. It's good to, like the surveyors, get them, get surveying videos and pilot videos and listen to them. But they're using exactly the same terminology and explaining these things as we are, as everybody does who's utilising the Earth horizontally and level. I'll pop it in again if you want to have a look.
The problem is, one day, that when you start asking them questions about some of these people, about the actual geometry of the Earth, right? They start telling you it's a globe, even though everything they do involves the Earth not being a globe. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the problem. The chances are most of these people will start trying to claim it's a globe, even though they have zero measurements of it and they never navigate it in that way. So the pilot and the surveyor, 9 out of 10 times, will start trying to tell you it's a globe. That's how good the programming is.
Hey, Brian, did you see the Charlie Kirk video I shared?
Yeah.
Isn't that something? He just shut the guy right down. But if that guy had any sort of knowledge, he would have been able to stop him dead in his tracks.
Well, maybe the guy was meant to say what he said. Maybe he was just paid to do that. I don't know. Trying to so it looks like the topic was addressed, but obviously it wasn't addressed because obviously Charlie Kirk didn't have a clue about what he was talking about, and he was trying to promote himself as a Bible following person. Yet he was trying to promote the globe. He's in contradiction there. I think I saw that clip in the past actually. That's what I think it was through my.
That the Earth is spherical.
Yeah. Have you ever? I've seen. He said, I saw the curve of the Earth from an airplane or some rubbish like that.
And when people say they see the curve from an airplane, it's just a straight up lie. And it was the summer of 2002 when I was a kid. I was going to visit my grandparents, and I was real scared about the flight because that's the first time I remembered being on a plane. So I was kind of scared about it for the first couple days before it happened. And I kept thinking to myself, it's going to be really cool to see the curve. And I get on the plane, we take off, and I start looking out the window, and I was 13, 12 at the time. And I asked the flight attendant, I said, are we going to go any higher? And she goes, no, we're at cruising altitude. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't see the curve yet. And she's like, oh, sweetie, you can't see the curve from an airplane. But the thing is, if she said that today, she'd probably get fired or put in an insane asylum or something.
Oh no, you would have to fill out forms and all this other stuff to even ask that question. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but in 2002, nobody thought anything of it.
Yeah, but that air hostess is just doing exactly what the pilot and the surveyor that one deck was talking about was doing. Just referencing reality without any lights. Do you know what I mean? I know she was pre-assuming a globe, but saying, no, you can't see the curve from this altitude. It's
not realizing that she was basically saying it doesn't exist. And for it to exist, the horizon would have to be the leading geometric edge of it, which it's not. Horizon is greatest slope zero, horizontal line side. So the thing is that people, right, when they're not put on the spot, will just tell the truth. But if you start saying, asking a surveyor to prove it, to tell them it's flat, he'll start telling you it's a globe. You start telling that pilot it's flat, he'll start telling you it's a globe, he or she or whatever. You know, and the same for the air hostess. You know what I mean? She's pre-assuming a globe. You say, well, it's not a globe because blah, blah, blah. She's not wanting to argue with you, even though she's literally stated that she's not seeing any curve and you can't see it. It's not because it's not there. That's the real reason. But she thinks it's for other reasons. You know, that's the problem. Like, when it's this
Victory Royale!
Yeah, it's this inbuilt thing that they have where they suddenly need to defend the globe at the expense of their career, their reputation, anything. Globe comes first. At the expense of their religious faith, anything. Globe comes first. First and foremost is globe and heliocentrism. Now, which is a religion? But the fact that it proves it, that it's a cult and a religion, by the fact that they are, like, regardless of the situation, regardless of what they're after just doing, they'll instantly contradict themselves and throw everything out the window. Woodfee is the best example of it. Go on.
I'm going to round out.
You're saying, including the common sense, that they get rid of that as well, don't they? They have to. Sorry, Nico.
No, you carry on. Or don't. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Hit me up on PayPal and Patreon and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.